You have just woken up as a lion beneath the rising sun over golden grasslands. For the next 3 hours, you are going to experience a silent zebra stalk, a thunderous roar-off with rival males, and river crossing where crocodiles lurk. And this won't be easy, so good luck. But before we get into this journey of a lion, I'd appreciate it if you could subscribe, like the video, and why not leave a comment on where you are tuning in from and what animal you want me to cover next. Now, let's begin this epic adventure together. The first thing you feel is the cool dampness against your golden fur. Dew has settled overnight, tiny droplets clinging to the coarse hairs of your mane like nature's own jewelry. The air carries that particular crispness that only exists in the moments before sunrise, when the African savanna holds its breath between night and day. Your belly rumbles a low, hollow sound that speaks of yesterday's unsuccessful hunt and the gnawing emptiness that comes with it. Around you, the pride stirs with the lazy reluctance of cats everywhere. Your sister stretches first, her massive paws extending forward as her spine arches in that perfect feline curve. The movement ripples through her muscles, each one visible beneath her tawny coat. She yawns, revealing canine teeth as long as a human's finger, white and sharp against her pink tongue. The sound she makes is part yawn, part growler, rumbling exhale that speaks of deep sleep finally releasing its hold. Your mother, the matriarch, lifts her head with the dignified slowness of absolute authority. Even in these drowsy moments, her presence commands respect. The way she surveys the awakening pride, golden eyes taking inventory of each member, reminds you of your place in this carefully ordered world. You are not the biggest, not the strongest, but you belong here among these magnificent predators who share your blood and your territory. The acacia tree that sheltered you through the night creaks softly as the first thermal currents begin to rise. Its thorny branches have provided protection from the worst of the night winds, and now its canopy filters the growing light into dancing patterns across your fur. Somewhere in the distance, a troop of guinea fowl begins their chattering alarm, calls probably spotted a jackal or wild dog moving through the tall grass. Their voices carry across kilometers of open grassland, a natural early warning system that every creature on the savanna learns to interpret. You rise slowly, joints protesting after a night on the hard ground. The movement sends small puffs of dust into the air, particles that catch the strengthening light and dance like tiny golden stars around your massive frame. Your paws, each one larger than a dinner plate, find their grip on the sun-baked earth. The pads are rough and calloused from years of walking across thorns, rocks, and burning sand, but they're sensitive enough to feel the subtle vibrations that travel through the ground, the distant thunder of zebra hooves, the lighter patter of gazelles, the heavy footfalls of elephants moving toward water. The scents that reach your nose tell a story richer than any human language. There's the musky sweetness of your pride mates, each one carrying their own unique signature that you could identify with eyes closed. Beneath that familiar comfort lies the green smell of new grass, brought on by recent rains that have transformed parts of the savanna from brown stubble to emerald carpets. But it's the other scents that make your nostrils flare with interest, the trail of a warthog family that passed nearby in the night, the lingering musk of a leopard that wisely kept its distance, and most urgently, the smell of water somewhere downwind. Water. Your tongue runs across dry lips as your body reminds you of its most pressing need. Lions may be the kings of the savanna, but even kings must bow to the basic requirements of survival. The nearest waterhole is a 20-minute walk through open grassland, but it's shared territory where you'll encounter other predators, prey animals, and possibly rival lions. Still, there's no choice. Your body needs water, and waiting means weakness. Your youngest brother, barely past cub age but trying desperately to prove his adult status, bounds to his feet with the energy that only the young possess. His mane is still developing, more fuzz than fur, giving him an almost comical appearance that he takes very seriously. He tries to roar a sound that comes out more like a teenager's voice cracking than the bone-deep bellow of a mature male. The older lions pay him no attention, but you remember your own early attempts at claiming your voice and feel a flicker of sympathy. The matriarch begins to move, and the decision is made for all of you. When she walks, the pride follows. It's not a rule that anyone taught you, it's simply the way things are and have always been. Her path leads toward the scent of water, but she moves with the careful awareness of a predator who has survived many seasons. Every few steps, she pauses to test the air, to listen for sounds that don't belong, to watch for the subtle movements in the grass that might signal danger or opportunity. As you fall into line behind her, your stomach rumbles again, louder this time. The sound carries to your pride mates, and you see your sister's ears twitch in acknowledgement. She's hungry too, you all are. The failed hunt 2 days ago means that reserves of fat are running low, and every movement requires more effort than it should. But morning hunts are rare. The heat that's already beginning to build, even before the sun clears the horizon, will soon make extended chases impossible. Better to conserve energy, find water, seek shade, and wait for the cooler hours when prey animals move more predictably and your own body can handle the explosive demands of a coordinated attack. The grass brushes against your legs as you walk, some stalks still wet with dew, others already beginning to dry in the warming air. Each step sends small insects jumping away from your massive paws, grasshoppers that click and whir, beetles that scurry for new cover, tiny creatures that form the foundation of this complex ecosystem. You pay them no attention, but their presence registers in the part of your mind that's always cataloguing the environment for changes that might signal larger shifts in the rhythm of the savanna. Morning patrol scent, marking the frontier. The waterhole behind you now. Your thirst satisfied, but your hunger still gnawing. You find yourself walking alongside your pride's most experienced huntress. She's not the matriarch that position belongs to your mother by right of birth and years of survival, but she's the lion who makes the hunting decisions, who reads the wind and terrain with an expertise that comes from thousands of successful kills. Her presence beside you is both an honor and a responsibility. Today, she's chosen you to help patrol the pride's territorial boundaries, a task that requires strength, attention, and the ability to interpret scents and sounds that might indicate threats to your family's safety. The acacia tree that marks the eastern edge of your territory stands 30 meters ahead, its distinctive umbrella canopy making it visible from kilometers away. But it's not the tree itself that draws your attention, it's the complex collection of scents that surrounds it. This tree serves as a message board, a place where lions leave chemical signatures that communicate everything from their reproductive status to their territorial claims to their individual identity. As you approach, your huntress companion slows her pace, allowing time for both of you to read the stories written in scent. The base of the tree carries the familiar markers of your own pride, layers of scent deposited over weeks and months that proclaim this territory as claimed and defended. But there are other smells too, more recent ones that make the huntress's tail twitch with concern. A coalition of young males passed this way sometime in the night, their scent still fresh enough to suggest they might not be far away. These aren't the familiar smells of neighboring lions who respect established boundaries. These are strangers, males in their prime who might be looking for territory to claim and prides to take over. You watch as your companion approaches the tree with purposeful deliberation. She rubs her cheek against the rough bark, depositing scent from the glands near her mouth. The motion looks casual, almost affectionate, but you understand its significance. She's reinforcing your pride's claim to this land, adding her fresh signature to the complex chemical message that tells other lions exactly who controls this area. When she steps back, you follow her lead, pressing your own face against the ancient bark and adding your scent to the territorial declaration. The bark is warm against your skin, heated by yesterday's sun, and still retaining that warmth in the cool morning air. Beneath the lion scents, you can detect the tree's own smell-the-clean, slightly medicinal scent of acacia sap, mixed with dust and the faint traces of the many other creatures that use this tree for shelter and shade. Weaver birds have built their hanging nests in the higher branches, and their fresh droppings add another layer to the complex bouquet of smells that makes each territorial marker unique and informative. Moving away from the tree, you follow your companion toward the next boundary marker, a cluster of rocks that provides both elevated viewing and multiple surfaces for scent deposition. The walk gives you time to observe her technique, the way she tests the wind direction before choosing exactly where to place her markers, how she uses both urine and the scent glands in her paws to create a comprehensive territorial signature. This isn't random behavior, it's a sophisticated communication system that helps maintain the invisible boundaries that keep prides separated and reduce the likelihood of violent confrontations. The morning air carries sounds as well as scents, and your huntress companion pauses frequently to listen. The low rumble of a distant roar reaches your ears, so deep that you feel it in your chest as much as you hear it with your ears. The sound travels across 8 kilometers of open savanna, but your trained hearing can interpret its meaning. It's a territorial roar from a coalition of males far enough away to pose no immediate threat, but close enough to warrant attention. Your companion tilts her head, calculating distance and direction, adding this information to her mental map of the neighborhood's political situation. A troop of baboons in a nearby fig tree begins alarm barking, their sharp voices cutting through the morning quiet with urgent warnings. But their attention isn't focused on you, they're looking west, toward movement in the grass that your eyes haven't yet detected. Your companion freezes, every muscle tense, as she follows their gaze. Baboons are excellent early warning systems, their elevated position and sharp eyes often spotting threats before ground-dwelling predators notice them. But after several seconds of intense observation, she relaxes. The movement they've spotted is a family of warthogs, dangerous only to roots and grubs, not to lions or baboons. The rocks ahead provide the perfect vantage point for surveying your territory. Each stone has been worn smooth by years of lions climbing and resting, their surfaces polished by countless paws and bodies. Your companion leaps up with fluid grace, her powerful muscles launching her onto a boulder twice her height with no apparent effort. You follow, feeling the warm stone beneath your pads as you settle beside her to scan the horizon. From this elevated position, the savanna spreads out like a vast golden carpet, interrupted by islands of green where underground water feeds more luxurious vegetation. You can see the paths worn by countless generations of animals moving between water sources, feeding areas, and shelter. These corridors are crucial hunting grounds, places where prey animals become predictable in their movements and therefore vulnerable to coordinated attacks. But they're also contested spaces where territorial boundaries blur and conflicts between predator groups are most likely to occur. Your companion's nose works constantly, processing the flood of information carried on the morning breeze. She can detect the passage of a hyena clan that moved through the area several hours ago, following a scent trail that speaks of successful scavenging. The smell of zebras drifts from the northeast, a herd large enough to be worth investigating but distant enough that any hunting attempt would require careful planning and considerable energy expenditure. Most intriguingly, there's the faint but unmistakable scent of a female leopard with cubs, holed up somewhere in the rocky outcropping to the south. The process of territory marking continues as you move from landmark to landmark. Each location has been used by generations of lions, creating scent posts that serve as a kind of historical record of pride ownership and territorial disputes. Your companion knows exactly where to place her marks for maximum effectiveness, using natural features like fallen logs, distinctive rocks, and solitary trees to ensure her messages are easily found and interpreted by other lions traveling through the area. As the sun climbs higher and the heat begins to build, your companion makes the decision to head back toward the core of your territory. The morning patrol has served its purpose, boundaries have been reinforced, potential threats have been assessed, and valuable information about prey movements has been gathered. But perhaps most importantly, the time spent working together has strengthened the bond between you and one of your pride's most skilled hunters, a relationship that will prove crucial when the serious business of hunting begins with the cooler evening hours. Midday heat shade, social bonds. The sun has climbed to its merciless peak, transforming the savanna into a furnace that makes every breath feel like swallowing fire. Heat waves shimmer across the grassland, creating phantom lakes that dance on the horizon and disappear when you try to focus on them. Even the insects have largely retreated to whatever shade they can find, leaving the landscape eerily quiet, except for the occasional call of a ground hornbill in the distance. This is the time when wisdom means finding shelter and conserving energy, when only the most desperate or foolish creatures venture into the open under the blazing African sun. Your pride has claimed the shade beneath a massive sausage tree, its broad canopy providing blessed relief from the punishing heat. The tree's distinctive hanging fruits, shaped like enormous sausages and weighing up to 10 kilograms each, sway gently in the faint breeze that occasionally offers momentary cooling. The fruits aren't edible for lions, they're bitter and hard, designed to appeal to elephants and baboons who can crack them open and disperse the seeds, but their presence creates deeper shade that makes this resting spot particularly valuable during the harsh midday hours. You settle onto your side in the soft dust beneath the tree, feeling the immediate relief as your overheated body begins to cool against the earth that has been shielded from direct sunlight. The position allows you to stretch your legs fully while keeping your back pressed against your sister's flank. Physical contact serves multiple purposes in lion society. It helps regulate body temperature, provides comfort and security, and reinforces the social bonds that hold the pride together through challenges and conflicts. Your youngest brother, still energetic despite the heat, flops down beside you with characteristic lack of grace. His developing mane is already causing him discomfort in the rising temperature, the thick hair around his neck and shoulders trapping heat that his body struggles to dissipate. You remember your own early experiences with a growing mane, the way it made every hot day feel like a personal trial, and you feel sympathy for his obvious discomfort. In a few years, when his mane reaches full development, he'll have to work even harder to stay cool, spending even more of the day in whatever shade he can find. The matriarch lies several meters away, positioned where she can observe the entire pride while maintaining the slight separation that her status requires. Her breathing is steady and controlled, her golden eyes half closed but still alert to any change in the environment that might signal danger or opportunity. Age and experience have taught her the art of true rest, the ability to refresh her body and mind while remaining ready to respond instantly to threats. It's a skill that comes only with years of survival in an environment where letting your guard down completely can mean death. Your sister begins the grooming ritual that will occupy much of the next few hours. Her rough tongue, designed for stripping meat from bones, works across your shoulder with firm, methodical strokes. The sensation is both soothing and functional. Her saliva helps cool your skin through evaporation, while the physical action removes dirt, dead hair, and parasites that could cause irritation or infection. You return the favor, your own tongue working across the back of her neck where she cannot reach, tasting the salt of her sweat and the dust of the morning's patrol. The social grooming serves purposes that go far beyond simple hygiene. Each stroke of the tongue reinforces trust and affection, building the emotional bonds that will make life-or-death cooperation possible during hunts and territorial conflicts. Lions who groom each other regularly fight more effectively as a team, share prey more willingly, and support each other through injuries and illness. The time invested in these gentle interactions pays dividends when crisis demands immediate, coordinated action. A procession of Tsetse flies discovers your resting spot, their persistent buzzing and painful bites, adding another layer of discomfort to the already challenging conditions. These insects are more than mere annoyances. They carry sleeping sickness and other diseases that can weaken or kill even the most powerful predators. Your sister's tail becomes a weapon against them, swishing back and forth with practiced precision to discourage their landing attempts. When one manages to settle on your flank, you twist your massive head around to snap at it, your reflexes still sharp despite the lethargy induced by heat and recent grooming. The youngest member of your pride, a female cub who has recently graduated from complete dependence on her mother's milk, approaches with the cautious curiosity that characterizes young lions learning their place in the social hierarchy. She's old enough to understand that interrupting adult rest requires careful judgment, but young enough to still crave the comfort and security that comes from physical contact with older pride members. You lift your massive paw and rest it gently across her smaller body, feeling her relax completely as she settles into the secure space between your legs. The afternoon progresses with the slow rhythm of survival in extreme heat. Conversations, if they can be called that, consist of subtle communications, a flick of an ear to acknowledge another lion's presence, a slight shift in position to share shade more equitably, a low rumble of contentment that reinforces group harmony. These quiet interactions are just as important as the dramatic moments of hunting and territory defense. They build the foundation of trust and cooperation that allows a pride to function as a unified hunting machine when circumstances demand it. Your cousin, a powerful female who joined your pride 2 years ago after her birth pride was scattered by a coalition of invading males, demonstrates the complex etiquette of midday rest. She approaches the group slowly, reading the subtle body language signals that indicate whether her presence is welcome or whether she should find her own resting spot. The slight relaxation of your mother's tail and the brief eye contact she makes signals acceptance, and your cousin settles at the edge of the group, close enough to benefit from communal security but far enough away to respect established hierarchies. The heat continues to build, making even breathing an effort. Your body has multiple strategies for dealing with extreme temperature. Espanting helps dissipate heat through evaporation. Seeking contact with cooler earth helps conduct heat away from your body. And minimizing movement reduces the internal heat generated by muscle activity. But perhaps most importantly, the social bonds strengthened during these long, quiet hours ensure that when evening brings relief and the possibility of hunting, your pride will function as a coordinated unit where each member understands their role and trusts their companions completely. As shadows begin to lengthen slightly, indicating that the sun has passed its peak, you allow yourself to drift into the light doze that passes for sleep among lions during daylight hours. Your ears remain alert to sounds that might indicate danger, the alarm calls of ground-dwelling birds, the nervous snorting of antelope, the distinctive whooping calls of hyenas that might signal competition for food sources. But your body finally gets the rest it needs to prepare for the challenges that evening will bring. Dusk stalk, wind against whiskers. The sun hangs low on the horizon like a massive orange ball, painting the savanna in shades of gold and amber that make every blade of grass look as if it's been dipped in honey. The oppressive heat of midday has begun to break, replaced by the first hints of the cool evening air that will make extended physical activity possible once again. Your pride stirs from the long afternoon rest, with the purposeful energy that comes when hunger meets opportunity and conditions finally favor the hunters over the hunted. Your stomach has been empty for 3 days now, and the hollow ache has progressed from uncomfortable to desperate. Every movement reminds you of your body's need for protein and fat, the fuel that powers your massive frame and maintains the muscle mass that makes you one of Africa's apex predators. Around you, the other pride members show similar signs of hunger, the slight prominence of ribs beneath their tawny coats, the intensity of focus as they test the evening air for the scents that might lead to a successful hunt. The wind direction is perfect, a steady breeze flowing from the northeast that will carry your scent away from the prey animals you hope to encounter, while bringing their smells directly to your sensitive nose. The huntress who led the morning patrol has taken charge of tonight's hunting party, her experience and proven success rate giving her the authority to make decisions that could mean the difference between eating and going hungry for another day. She signals the formation with subtle movements of her ears and tail, positioning each hunter to maximize the chances of a coordinated kill. You find yourself assigned to the flanking position, responsible for preventing prey from escaping toward the rocky outcropping that could provide refuge from lion attacks. It's a position that requires speed, timing, and the ability to anticipate the panicked movements of animals fighting for their lives. The role suits your combination of size and agility, your powerful legs capable of the explosive acceleration needed to cut off escape routes, while your experience helps you read the intentions of fleeing prey. The approach toward the hunting ground requires every skill you've developed over years of stalking. Your massive paws, despite their size, place themselves with remarkable precision on the patches of bare earth between grass clumps, avoiding the dry stems that might crack and alert potential prey to your presence. Each step is deliberate and controlled, your body weight distributed to minimize ground vibration while your eyes constantly scan ahead for obstacles that might force you to make noise. The zebra herd comes into view gradually, first as distant movement against the darkening sky, then as individual animals whose stripes create a dizzying pattern that evolution designed specifically to confuse predators like you. There are perhaps 30 animals in the group, including several foals whose smaller size and inexperience make them tempting targets, but also adult stallions whose powerful kicks can shatter bones and whose alertness makes any approach extremely dangerous. Your huntress leader freezes, and the entire hunting party follows her lead, becoming motionless shapes in the tall grass. The zebras are grazing, but their heads lift frequently to scan for danger, their large ears rotating like radar dishes to catch sounds that might indicate the presence of predators. One particularly alert mare stands slightly apart from the herd, her attention focused in your direction. She hasn't seen you yet, but something in her demeanor suggests she senses that danger lurks nearby. The wind shifts slightly, and you feel it against your whiskers like a gentle caress that carries with it a flood of information. The zebras are upwind, their strong, earthy scent mixed with the dust they've stirred up and the green smell of the grass they've been consuming. But there are other scents, musky signature of a hyena clan somewhere in the distance, the sharp chemical tang of wild dog urine marking territory boundaries, and the metallic scent that often precedes the evening storms that could complicate any hunting attempt. Minutes pass like hours as your hunting party maintains perfect stillness, waiting for the zebras to move into a position that will allow the coordinated attack that success requires. Your muscles remain coiled and ready, but the enforced immobility allows you to observe the herd's behavior patterns. The dominant stallion positions himself between his family and any potential threats, his magnificent head held high as he watches for danger. The mares graze with one eye always alert, ready to bolt at the first sign of trouble. The foals stay close to their mothers, their youthful energy barely contained even as they instinctively understand the need for caution. The huntress gives the signal a slight twitch of her tail that's barely visible in the gathering darkness but instantly recognizable to every member of the hunting party. The attack begins with careful positioning rather than immediate action, each lion moving to predetermined locations that will create a killing zone with minimal escape routes. Your role requires you to circle wide around the herd's flank, using the cover of scattered acacia bushes to remain invisible until the moment when speed becomes more important than stealth. Your heart pounds with anticipation as you reach your assigned position. The zebras have begun to move, slowly grazing their way toward the patch of succulent grass that grows near a seasonal water pan. Their movement is bringing them closer to the optimal ambush location, but timing will be crucial. Too early, and they'll scatter before the hunting party can coordinate their attack. Too late, and they'll move beyond the area where escape routes can be effectively blocked. The lead mare suddenly raises her head, nostrils flaring as she tests the air. For a terrifying moment, you think the hunt has been discovered before it truly begins. But her attention focuses on something beyond your position, perhaps the scent of the distant hyenas or the sound of other herbivores moving through the darkness. After several tense seconds, she returns to grazing, but her alertness has increased noticeably. The huntress explodes from her concealment like a golden projectile, her powerful legs driving her toward the nearest zebra with breathtaking acceleration. The effect on the herd is instantaneous, and dramatic heads snap up, alarm calls pierce the evening air, and 30 zebras begin moving as a single organism toward what they perceive as safety. But their escape route leads directly toward your position, exactly as the hunt plan intended. Your own charge begins as the zebras reach the critical point where commitment becomes inevitable. Your muscles unleash the power they've been storing during the long afternoon rest, propelling your massive body forward with a speed that seems impossible for an animal of your size. The zebra you've targeted, young stallion whose inexperience shows in his choice of escape route, realizes his mistake too late to change direction effectively. The collision, when it comes, is violent and decisive. Your claws find purchase in the zebra's striped hide as your momentum carries both of you to the ground in a tangle of thrashing limbs and desperate struggles. The zebra's powerful legs kick frantically, any one of which could cause serious injury if it connects with your body, but your position gives you the leverage needed to avoid the worst of his defensive efforts, while maintaining the grip that prevents his escape. Night chorus roars across 8 kilometers. The full moon rises like a silver coin against the velvet darkness, transforming the savanna into a landscape of sharp shadows and ethereal light. The successful hunt lies behind you now, your belly finally full after 3 days of hunger, the satisfaction of a coordinated kill shared among your pride members, creating the deep contentment that comes only after survival needs have been met. But the night holds different purposes than the day, and as the temperature drops to comfortable levels, Your body begins responding to instincts that have nothing to do with food and everything to do with communication across vast distances. The urge begins as a stirring deep in your chest, a gathering pressure that feels like thunder building before a storm. Your breathing changes, becoming deeper and more deliberate as your body prepares for the physical demands of producing one of nature's most powerful sounds. Around you, other Pride members feel the same call, their postures shifting as the communal need to announce your presence begins to override individual comfort and rest. Your mother, the matriarch, rises first and walks several meters away from the group to a slight rise that will help project her voice across the maximum distance. Her movements are deliberate and ceremonial, acknowledging the importance of what's about to happen. This isn't casual vocalization, this is territorial advertisement, family bonding, and long-distance communication rolled into one of the most impressive acoustic displays in the animal kingdom. She begins with a series of low moans, sounds so deep they're felt as much as heard, vibrations that travel through the ground and through your body like the preliminary tremors before an earthquake. The moans serve as a warm-up, preparing her vocal cords and respiratory system for the full roar that will follow, but they also function as an invitation for other Pride members to join the chorus that will soon fill the night air with coordinated sound. You feel compelled to join her, your own need to contribute to the family voice becoming irresistible. Moving to your own position slightly apart from the rest of the Pride, you begin your own series of preliminary moans, feeling the vibrations resonate through your chest cavity and throat. The sound emerges from somewhere deeper than your lungs, generated by muscles and cartilage that exist specifically to produce the low-frequency calls that can travel across the vast distances of the African landscape. The first full roar, when it comes, seems to emerge from the earth itself. Your mother's voice explodes into the night with a volume and intensity that makes your bones vibrate in sympathy. The sound carries layers of information: her individual identity, her reproductive status, her claim to this territory, her call for pride, cohesion, and solidarity. But beyond the biological messages, there's something almost mystical about the way her voice fills the darkness, proclaiming the presence of apex predators to every creature within 8 kilometers. Your own roar follows seconds later, your voice joining hers in a duet that speaks of family bonds and shared territory. The sound that emerges from your throat surprises you with its power and depth, a bassy bellow that seems too large for even your impressive physical frame. The roar builds from those preliminary moans into a sustained call that lasts nearly 30 seconds, your entire body involved in its production as your ribcage expands and contracts with the effort. One by one, other Pride members add their voices to the growing chorus. Your sister's roar blends with yours, creating harmonics that make the combined sound even more impressive than the sum of its parts. Your youngest brother, still developing his full vocal power, contributes what he can, his voice cracking occasionally but showing the promise of the magnificent roar he'll possess in a few more years. Even the cubs add their small voices, learning the family songs that will guide their behavior throughout their lives. The sound you're creating together travels across the moonlit savanna like an acoustic map of your presence and territory. Other predators, leopards, hyenas, wild dogs share your declaration and adjust their own activities accordingly, understanding that lions are active and claiming this particular area as their own. Prey animals freeze where they stand, their nervous systems flooded with the instinctive fear that comes from hearing the voices of their primary predators. Some will remain motionless until the roaring stops, while others will quietly move away from the sound, seeking distance from the obvious threat. But your chorus has another audience, one that responds with voices of their own. From the northeast, perhaps 3 kilometers away, another Pride begins their own roaring session. Their voices carry clearly across the open grassland, and you can distinguish individual lions in their group, several adult females, at least 2 mature males, and what sounds like multiple subadults, adding their developing voices to the family song. They're far enough away to pose no immediate threat, but close enough that both prides need to be aware of each other's location and status. The acoustic conversation continues for nearly an hour, with periods of intense roaring alternating with quieter moments when all lions listen carefully to the responses from distant groups. Your ears, finely tuned to distinguish between different types of calls, can identify the subtle variations that indicate whether other lions are advertising territory, seeking mates, or trying to locate separated pride members. The information flowing through these nighttime communications is as complex and detailed as any human conversation. A coalition of males, probably the same young nomads whose scent you encountered during the morning patrol, adds their voices from somewhere to the south. Their roars carry the slightly different timbre of lions without established territory, males in their prime who are actively seeking prides to claim and defend. The sound of their voices makes your own pride's roaring more urgent and assertive, a clear message that this territory is occupied by lions prepared to defend their claim against any challengers. The moon continues its journey across the star-filled sky as the roaring sessions gradually wind down. Your throat feels raw from the sustained vocal effort, and your body shows the fatigue that comes from the intense physical demands of producing such powerful sounds. But the satisfaction runs deeper than physical tiredness. You've participated in one of the fundamental rituals of lion society, adding your voice to the ancestral chorus that has echoed across African nights for millions of years. As silence finally settles across the savannah, broken only by the distant calls of nocturnal birds and the rustling of small mammals moving through the grass, you feel a profound connection to your family and your territory. The night chorus has served its multiple purposes, boundaries have been proclaimed, family bonds have been reinforced, and your presence has been announced to every creature capable of hearing across 8 kilometers of moonlit wilderness. Buffalo countercharge, the hunt turns. Dawn arrives with deceptive tranquility, the eastern sky painted in soft pastels that give no hint of the violence that will soon shatter the morning peace. Your pride has been tracking the old buffalo bull for 2 days, following his solitary path through thornbush and grassland as he searches for the rich grazing that will sustain his massive frame through another dry season. He's a magnificent specimen, probably weighing close to 800 kilograms, with horns that span wider than a lion's body length, and the kind of accumulated wisdom that comes from surviving countless encounters with predators over his long lifetime. The decision to target such dangerous prey wasn't made lightly. Buffalo are among the most formidable animals on the African continent, equipped with the size, strength, and aggressive temperament to kill even experienced lions. But your pride's hunger has reached the point where desperation overrides caution, and the potential reward enough meat to feed the entire family for several days justifies the enormous risk. The huntress who planned this attack has killed buffalo before, though never alone, and her confidence has convinced the rest of the pride to attempt what might be the most dangerous hunt of your lives. Your position in the attack formation places you directly in the path the buffalo will likely take when he realizes he's being hunted. It's simultaneously the most crucial and most dangerous assignment. Success depends on your ability to slow or stop an animal that outweighs you by several hundred kilograms and possesses weapons capable of disemboweling a lion with a single thrust. Your muscles feel coiled and ready, but your mind carries the awareness that this hunt could easily result in serious injury or death for multiple pride members. The buffalo grazes peacefully in a clearing surrounded by dense thornbush, his massive head lowered as he crops the sweet grass that grows near a seasonal stream. His seemingly relaxed posture is deceptive. Prey animals that survive to his age develop hypervigilant senses that can detect threats long before they become visible. His ears rotate constantly, monitoring sounds from every direction, while his nose works steadily to sample the air currents for the scents that might indicate approaching predators. The huntress begins her stalk with movements so slow and careful they're almost imperceptible. Each step is planned and executed with absolute precision, her body flowing between patches of cover like liquid gold against the tawny landscape. The other pride members maintain their positions in the surrounding thornbush, creating a loose circle that will theoretically prevent the buffalo's escape once the attack begins. But theory and practice are different things when dealing with an animal whose survival instincts have been honed by decades of avoiding exactly this kind of trap. Minutes stretch into what feels like hours as the huntress closes the distance between herself and her target. The buffalo continues grazing, but his alertness has increased, noticeably his head lifts more frequently, his ears twitch at sounds too subtle for your hearing to detect, and his massive body shifts positions in ways that suggest growing unease. Time is running out before he decides that discretion outweighs the value of the rich grass and moves toward more open terrain where escape becomes possible. The attack, when it finally comes, unfolds with explosive suddenness. The huntress launches herself from concealment with all the speed and power her muscles can generate, covering the final 20 meters in a blur of motion that gives the buffalo only seconds to react. But those seconds prove to be enough for an animal whose reflexes have been shaped by a lifetime of similar encounters. Instead of the panicked flight that would have allowed the ambush to succeed, he spins to face his attacker with the fluid grace of a creature half his size. The collision between lioness and buffalo creates a sound like thunder as 800 kilograms of angry herbivore meets 60 kilograms of determined predator in a contest that will leave one of them dead or dying. But the impact doesn't produce the takedown that hunting success requires instead. The buffalo's superior mass and low center of gravity allow him to absorb the lioness's charge while maintaining his footing. Worse, his quick thinking has positioned his horns between himself and his attacker, transforming what should have been a killing bite to the throat into a desperate scramble to avoid being gored. Your cue to join the attack comes when the buffalo's attention focuses completely on the lioness clinging to his shoulders. Your charge from the flanking position should have been the decisive blow, the coordinated assault that brings down even the most formidable prey. But as you launch yourself toward your target, the buffalo demonstrates why he survived so many seasons in a landscape filled with predators. With shocking speed for such a massive animal, he pivots on his hind legs and presents you with a wall of bone and muscle crowned by horns that could punch through a tree trunk. The moment when you realize the hunt has gone catastrophically wrong arrives like a physical blow to your consciousness. Instead of finding the vulnerable flank you expected, you're flying through the air toward an opponent who's not only ready for your attack but has positioned himself to use his most dangerous weapons against you. Time seems to slow as your body commits to a trajectory that will bring you within range of horns capable of ending your life in a single thrust. Your survival instincts, developed through years of successful hunts and narrow escapes, take control of your body with split-second timing. Instead of attempting the killing bite that would have been appropriate against cooperative prey, you twist in mid-air to present your claws and avoid the buffalo's horns. The impact, when it comes, drives the air from your lungs and sends shock waves through your skeletal system, but your desperate evasion has prevented the goring that would have been immediately fatal. The buffalo's bellow of rage and pain echoes across the savanna like the roar of an earthquake, a sound that speaks of fury beyond anything you've encountered in previous hunts. This isn't the panic of typical prey animals, this is the righteous anger of a creature that has decided to fight rather than flee. An animal whose size and strength make him more than capable of killing every lion in your pride if the battle continues on his terms. His massive hooves churn the earth as he spins to face the next threat, and you realize with crystalline clarity that your pride has engaged an opponent who might very well win this contest. The huntress who initiated the attack finds herself in an impossible position, her claws embedded in the buffalo's thick hide, but her grip precarious as he bucks and spins with the violent energy of an earthquake-given flesh. She can't maintain her hold much longer, but releasing it will expose her to the full force of his rage while leaving the rest of the pride to face an opponent who has already demonstrated his willingness and ability to fight back with lethal effectiveness. Your sister appears from the thorn bush like a golden projectile, her timing perfect as she targets the buffalo's hindquarters in an attempt to hamstring him and reduce his mobility. But the old bull has been through similar battles before, and his experience shows in the way he anticipates her attack and shifts his massive body to meet it. His hind leg lashes out with the precision of a trained fighter, catching her a glancing blow that sends her tumbling across the clearing with an impact that makes your heart skip beats. The battle has transformed from a coordinated hunt into a chaotic melee where survival depends more on luck than skill. The buffalo's horns sweep back and forth like scythes, creating zones of death that force attacking lions to choose between pressing their assault and preserving their lives. His hooves strike the ground with enough force to shatter bones, and his bellow has become a continuous roar of defiance that drowns out the hunting calls your pride uses to coordinate their attacks. Blood now stains the grassum of it, the buffalo's, flowing from the wounds inflicted by lion claws, but disturbingly, some of it belongs to your pride members. Your youngest brother limps away from the battle with a gash across his ribs where a horn tip found its mark, while your cousin presses a paw to a cut on her shoulder that speaks of how close she came to far more serious injury. The price of this hunt is escalating beyond anything your pride can afford to pay. The moment of decision arrives when the huntress finally loses her grip and falls heavily to the ground directly beneath the buffalo's trampling hooves. For a terrifying instant, it appears that your pride's most experienced hunter will be crushed or gored before she can escape. But the buffalo's attention shifts to a new threat: your mother, the matriarch, making her own desperate charge from an unexpected angle. Her intervention saves the huntress's life but places her own in immediate jeopardy as 800 kilograms of furious herbivore focus their destructive attention on her aging but still formidable frame. The realization that the hunt must be abandoned comes to all of you simultaneously, communicated not through calls or signals, but through the shared understanding that sometimes survival means accepting defeat. The buffalo has proven himself more than capable of killing multiple pride members, and the potential reward, no matter how desperately needed, cannot justify the loss of the lions who form your family's core strength. The retreat begins with the same coordination that marked the hunt's beginning, but now the goal is preservation rather than destruction. Each lion disengages according to their position and circumstances, using speed and agility to create distance between themselves and an opponent whose rage shows no signs of diminishing. The buffalo, his massive sides heaving with exertion and his hide marked by the evidence of battle, watches your withdrawal with the alert wariness of a creature who understands that the danger may not be entirely past. As your pride regroups at a safe distance, the cost of the failed hunt becomes clear. Multiple lions bear wounds that will require days or weeks to heal completely. Your energy reserves have been depleted without any nutritional reward, and most critically, your confidence in your ability to bring down large prey has been shaken by an encounter that reminded you that even apex predators can become prey when they choose their battles poorly. The buffalo returns to his grazing, his alertness now heightened to levels that will make any future hunting attempts virtually impossible. He has won this contest through a combination of size, experience, and sheer determination, demonstrating that in the endless struggle between predator and prey, victory is never guaranteed, and survival sometimes depends on knowing when to fight and when to flee. Wounds, recovery, instinctive medicine. The gash along your left flank throbs with each heartbeat, a reminder of the territorial dispute that erupted at dawn. 3 puncture wounds mark where rival claws found their target, tearing through your golden coat to expose the raw flesh beneath. Pain radiates outward in waves, but you're alive. And in the world of lions, survival trumps comfort every time. Your tongue works methodically across the wounds, rough papillae scraping away dried blood and debris. This isn't mere grooming, it's medicine older than memory. Your saliva carries natural antiseptics, enzymes that break down bacteria and promote healing. Each lick delivers a cocktail of growth factors and antimicrobial compounds that would impress any veterinarian. The process stings, but you persist, guided by instincts honed across millennia. The fever comes next, your body's ancient defense system kicking into overdrive. Heat builds beneath your skin, and suddenly the African sun feels unbearable. You need shade and water and rest. The acacia tree near the marsh offers sanctuary, its broad canopy filtering the harsh light into dappled patterns across your coat. Here, where the earth stays slightly moist and the air carries hints of moisture, your body can focus on healing. You settle into the reeds, their whisper-soft rustle creating a natural symphony. The proximity to water serves multiple purposes beyond comfort. When fever spikes, you can wade into the shallows, letting the cool liquid draw heat from your body. The marsh also attracts prey, though hunting remains beyond your current capabilities. For now, you'll rely on the pride's collective strength. Pride dynamics shift when a member falls injured. You've witnessed this dance before: the subtle reorganization of roles, the protective clustering around vulnerable individuals. Your sister approaches with a fresh impala haunch, her contribution to your recovery. She settles nearby, her presence both comfort and guard duty. In lion society, weakness invites opportunists. from rival prides to scavenging hyenas drawn by the scent of blood. The other lionesses adjust their patrol patterns, creating a protective perimeter around your resting spot. This isn't charity, it's survival economics. Your hunting skills contribute significantly to the pride's success rate. Your recovery represents a collective investment in future prosperity. They'll shoulder extra burdens now, knowing you'll return the favor when strength returns. Days blur together in a haze of sleep and gradual healing. Your wounds begin to close, edges drawing together as new tissue forms. The antiseptic properties of your saliva have prevented infection, a biochemical miracle that happens without conscious thought. You lick less frequently now, allowing scabs to form and protect the healing skin beneath. Recovery brings lessons in vulnerability and interdependence. Lions may be apex predators, but injury reminds you that survival often depends on community support. The pride's willingness to accommodate your limitations speaks to bonds forged through shared hunts, communal cub rearing, and collective defense against threats. Your fever breaks on the 4th day, leaving you weak but clear-headed. The wounds still ache, but the sharp edge of pain has dulled to manageable discomfort. You test your mobility carefully, stretching muscles that have stiffened during your convalescence. Movement hurts, but it's the good kind of hurt, the pain of healing rather than damage. The marsh provides a natural pharmacy for your recovery. Certain plants along the water's edge offer medicinal benefits when consumed in small quantities. Your ancestors discovered these remedies through trial and observation, knowledge passed down through generations of survivors. You nibble carefully on specific grasses, their compounds aiding digestion and providing anti-inflammatory benefits. As strength gradually returns, you begin participating in pride activities again. First, short patrols around the territory's edges, then longer reconnaissance missions to assess prey movements. Your packmates watch carefully, ready to intervene if you overextend yourself. This measured approach to recovery prevents re-injury while gradually rebuilding your capabilities. The healing process teaches patience, a valuable trait for any predator. Rushing back to full activity could tear open wounds or cause permanent damage. Better to heal completely than risk chronic weakness. Your body knows this wisdom instinctively, moderating your energy levels and maintaining protective responses until recovery is complete. By the 7th day, new pink skin covers your wounds, still tender but sealed against infection. The scars will remain permanent reminders of lessons learned and battles survived. In lion society, scars carry status. They speak of experience, resilience, and the willingness to fight for territory, pride, and survival. Your new marks join others collected over years of living wild, each one a chapter in your ongoing story of adaptation and endurance. Rank shifts visit from a male coalition. The horizon shimmers with more than heat waves this morning. 3 dark shapes move against the pale grass, too large for antelope, too coordinated for scavengers. Your nostrils flare, catching unfamiliar scent markers carried on the wind. Male lions, nomads, the kind of visitors that change everything. You rise from your resting spot, muscles tensing despite yesterday's wounds. Every lioness in the pride has noticed the approaching threat. Cubs huddle closer to their mothers, while adult females form a loose defensive line. The territorial males, your pride's current protectors, somewhere beyond the eastern ridge, unaware that challengers approach from the west. These nomads represent more than competition. They embody the brutal mathematics of lion society, where reproductive success demands the elimination of competitors' offspring. If they successfully challenge your pride's males, every cub younger than 2 years faces death. It's not malice driving this behavior, it's evolutionary programming optimized for genetic success over countless generations. The lead nomad bears scars across his massive shoulders, evidence of previous takeover attempts. His mane, though dusty from travel, shows the full development of a male in his prime. Behind him, 2 younger males follow with the careful coordination of brothers or coalition partners. Together, they represent a formidable challenge to any established pride structure. Distance creates deceptive calm, but you know the mathematics of approach. At their current pace, contact becomes inevitable within hours. The pride faces a critical decision: flee deeper into established territory and hope the resident males return in time, or stand ground and attempt to discourage the intruders through displays of force. Your sister chooses defiance over retreat. She steps forward, tail lashing, and releases a series of warning growls that carry for kilometers across the savannah. Other lionesses join the chorus, their vocalizations designed to alert absent pride members while simultaneously demonstrating unified resistance. Sound becomes weaponry in this long-distance psychological warfare. The nomads pause at hearing the challenge, but continue their advance. Their body language shifts from casual travel to purposeful hunting. They've located a pride worth claiming, and retreat seems unlikely. Your heart pounds as distance closes, transforming distant threats into immediate dangers, requiring split-second decisions. Cubs vanish into thick cover while pregnant females position themselves for rapid escape. This choreographed response reflects generations of survival wisdom: preserve the future, even if present dominance falters. You find yourself torn between maternal protection instincts and territorial defense impulses, both equally valid survival strategies. The approaching males begin scent marking with increased frequency, overlaying their signatures on established territorial boundaries. This olfactory invasion represents the first stage of conquest, claiming space through chemical communication before physical confrontation begins. Each mark declares intention while simultaneously gauging resistance levels. Your resident males finally respond to the lioness's calls, their answering roars echoing from the eastern hills, but distance works against them now. The nomads have achieved positional advantage, forcing established males to approach through terrain that favors the challengers. Military strategy applies even in nature's kingdoms. The first face-to-face encounter happens near the waterhole where territorial lines traditionally blur. Your pride's lead male arrives breathing heavily, his disadvantage obvious to all observers. The nomad coalition spreads out, utilizing numerical superiority to control multiple escape routes. What follows unfolds with the inevitability of Greek tragedy. Ritualized displays precede actual violence in most lion confrontations. Males circle each other, manes bristling, vocalizations escalating in volume and aggression. These performances serve multiple purposes: intimidating opponents, while minimizing actual physical damage whenever possible. Real fights risk injury to both parties, making dominance displays preferable to blood combat. But some challenges admit no peaceful resolution. When territories, mates, and genetic legacy hang in the balance, ritualized posturing gives way to genuine warfare. Claws extend, jaws snap, and the morning air fills with sounds that speak to humanity's oldest nightmares about darkness lurking beyond campfire light. You witness the fall of familiar power structures with mixed emotions. The defeated males flee eastward, carrying wounds that may prove fatal in coming days. Their reign ends not through age or weakness, but through the mathematics of coalition warfare. 3 against 2 creates insurmountable odds regardless of individual courage or fighting ability. The new males immediately begin asserting dominance over your pride's social structure. Younger cubs face immediate threats as the coalition implements evolutionary programming designed to maximize their own reproductive success. Some mothers attempt desperate defense of their offspring, but the mathematics remain unchanged. Individual courage cannot overcome coordinated male determination. Your own response requires careful calculation. Submission might preserve your life, but guarantees loss of current cubs. Resistance could prove fatal, but offers slight chances of protecting offspring through successful escape. Evolution provides no clear guidance for this impossible choice. Both options carry terrible costs with uncertain benefits. The pride fragments as individuals make personal survival decisions. Some lionesses accept new leadership, their compliance purchasing safety at devastating emotional cost. Others choose exile, departing with surviving cubs toward uncertain futures in unclaimed territories. You find yourself evaluating options that would have seemed impossible just hours earlier. Coalition takeovers reshape pride genetics across generations. The nomad's success ensures their traits pass to future offspring while eliminating rival bloodlines. From purely biological perspectives, this represents evolutionary optimization in action. From personal viewpoints, it constitutes tragedy beyond measure. Families shattered, futures destroyed, familiar worlds transformed beyond recognition. Exile wind forced to roam. The acacia thorns catch your coat as you push through dense scrubland, each barb a small rebellion against your passage. Your sister walks beside you, her golden form a mirror of your own displacement. 2 days have passed since the Coalition's ultimatum: submit completely or face permanent banishment. You chose exile over surrender, and now the vast wilderness stretches ahead with all its promises and perils. Territory that once felt familiar now seems alien and threatening. Every scent marker belongs to strangers, every water source represents potential conflict with established residents. The safety net of Pride membership has vanished, leaving you to navigate survival's raw mathematics without collective support or shared knowledge. Your sister pauses at a giraffe skeleton bleached white by countless seasons, its ribcage creating cathedral arches against the empty sky. These bones serve as landmarks in a landscape that otherwise blurs together in endless repetitions of grass, thorn, and distant hills. Navigation becomes critical when home territory no longer provides reference points for orientation. Water dominates all other considerations during nomadic travel. Your body can survive weeks without food, but mere days without hydration. The rainy season ended months ago, leaving scattered waterholes as oases in an increasingly desiccated world. Each source must be approached carefully. Other predators share your desperation, creating competition around every remaining pool. The wind carries stories written in scent molecules. Hyena clans have marked territories throughout this region, their distinctive odor speaking of organized resistance to lion intrusion. Unlike the scattered individuals you knew from Pride territory, these represent coordinated groups capable of overwhelming even adult lionesses through superior numbers and home field advantage. Travel timing becomes an art form, balancing multiple competing demands. Daylight movement conserves energy, but increases visibility to potential threats. Night passage offers concealment while raising risks of surprise encounters with other nocturnal hunters. You settle into rhythm that alternates between dawn movement and midday rest, always seeking compromise between speed and safety. Your sister's pregnancy adds urgency to every decision. Her expanding belly speaks of future responsibilities that will soon demand settlement rather than wandering. Cubs cannot survive constant travel, yet establishing territory requires resources and security currently beyond your capabilities. Time becomes an enemy racing against biological imperatives. The landscape tells stories of other nomads who passed this way. Scratch marks on trees reveal where previous lions sharpened claws during temporary stops. Scent markers fade but still whisper of desperate journeys undertaken by the displaced and dispossessed. You add your own signatures to this archive of exile, hoping future travelers might benefit from your passage. Crocodile-lined river crossings present particular challenges during nomadic travel. These reptilian ambush specialists concentrate around water sources that nomads cannot avoid. Your approach to each crossing requires careful reconnaissance, studying bank configurations, identifying safest entry and exit points, timing movements to minimize exposure in vulnerable midstream positions. Hunting efficiency plummets without Pride cooperation. Prey animals recognize the reduced threat posed by individual lions, adjusting their behavior accordingly. Escape routes that would prove inadequate against coordinated Pride attacks become viable options against solo hunters. Your success rate drops dramatically, forcing careful energy management during lean periods. The thorn scrub provides both obstacle and opportunity during your journey. Dense vegetation offers concealment from larger threats, while harboring smaller prey species that require different hunting strategies. You develop new techniques for navigating thorny passages, learning to use natural tunnels created by other animals, rather than forcing direct routes through hostile terrain. Seasonal patterns govern nomadic survival in ways invisible to territorial lions. Without established territory to buffer environmental changes, you experience weather's full impact. Hot seasons become genuinely dangerous without reliable shade and water access. Cold periods drain energy reserves faster when shelter options remain limited and unpredictable. Your sister's condition deteriorates as pregnancy advances. Morning sickness combines with travel stress to reduce her hunting effectiveness. You shoulder increased responsibility for food procurement while simultaneously scouting for potential denning sites. The mathematics of survival become increasingly complex as variables multiply beyond simple individual needs. Elephant-created water sources provide temporary relief during your westward journey. These massive herbivores dig wells that penetrate deeper than surface pools, accessing groundwater unavailable to other species. Their excavations become communal resources, but approaching requires careful timing to avoid conflict with the engineers themselves. Hyena territories force frequent detours that add kilometers to daily travel distances. These adaptable carnivores have claimed choice locations throughout the region, their superior numbers making direct confrontation suicidal for lone lions. You learn to read landscape signs that indicate clan boundaries, adjusting routes to minimize contact with organized opposition. The weight of exile settles gradually, like dust accumulating on your coat. Each day of wandering reinforces the reality of displacement while offering slim hope of eventual settlement. You begin recognizing signs of potential territory areas where scent markers seem absent or outdated, where prey concentrations suggest sustainable hunting opportunities, where water and shelter combine to create viable foundations for new beginning. Yet establishment requires more than recognition of opportunity. Territory must be claimed and defended, a process that demands resources currently stretched thin by nomadic survival. Your sister's approaching birth adds deadline pressure to decisions that might otherwise develop gradually. Soon, choice between continued wandering and risky settlement will resolve itself through biological necessity rather than strategic planning. Lone moon hunting without a pride. The moon hangs like a pale eye above the acacia canopy, casting silver shadows across the grassland where you crouch motionless. 300 meters ahead, a young impala buck grazes alone, separated from his herd by adolescent carelessness or territorial disputes. In pride hunting, this would represent an easy target surrounded, overwhelmed, dispatched efficiently. Tonight, it represents your greatest challenge as a solitary predator. Your sister rests in thick cover a kilometer away, her pregnancy now too advanced for active hunting participation. The mathematics of survival have shifted entirely onto your shoulders. Every calorie matters when supporting 2 adults and soon-to-arrive cubs. Failure tonight means hunger tomorrow, and hunger weakens future hunting prospects in a downward spiral that claims many nomadic lions. The impala's behavior patterns become your universe of focus. How frequently does he lift his head to scan for threats? Which direction does he prefer when startled? What terrain features might channel his escape route toward your position rather than away? Solo hunting transforms these observations from helpful details into life-or-death intelligence requiring absolute accuracy. You begin the stalk by moving during his grazing periods, freezing whenever his head rises. Progress measures in meters rather than bound-seach advance calculated against wind direction, ground cover, and the prey's alertness levels. Pride hunting allows for mistakes corrected by teammates. Solitary hunting offers no margin for error, no backup plans when primary strategies fail. The economic mathematics of solo predation work against you. Pride hunts succeed roughly 30% of the time, but individual efforts drop success rates below 15%. Yet energy expenditure remains constant regardless of outcome. Failed hunts drain reserves that require successful kills to replenish. The mathematics create vicious cycles where weakness breeds further weakness. Your stalking technique adapts to compensate for missing teammates. Instead of relying on driving prey toward concealed pride members, you must position yourself to intercept natural escape routes. The impala will flee toward familiar territory when threatened. His survival instincts become predictable patterns you can exploit through careful positioning and timing. The final approach requires suppressing every instinct for haste. Closer distance increases success probability, but also raises detection risks. The impala's nervous system operates in constant surveillance mode, scanning for the specific movement patterns that indicate approaching predators. Your advance becomes a masterclass in controlled motion fluid when observed, frozen when scrutinized. 20 meters. The impala continues grazing, but his ears swivel constantly, monitoring acoustic environments for danger signals. Your breathing must remain silent despite elevated heart rate and adrenaline surges. Every muscle fiber coordinates toward explosive acceleration while maintaining perfect stillness. The contradiction pushes physical control to its absolute limits. The charge erupts from frozen patience like lightning from clear skies. Your hindquarters unleash power accumulated through careful stalking, propelling you forward in bounds that devour distance faster than prey reflexes can process threats. The impala's head snaps up, eyes wide with recognition, but momentum physics favor the predator who achieves surprise. His escape attempt unfolds exactly as predicted, a sharp turn toward familiar territory that brings him across your intercept course rather than away from it. Years of studying prey behavior during pride hunts provide the foundation for this solitary success. Knowledge transfers between hunting contexts, though application requires entirely different skill sets. The tackle sends both bodies tumbling across dusty ground in a symphony of scrambling hooves and extending claws. Your jaws find their target, the throat hold that cuts off air while avoiding dangerous horn strikes. The impala's struggles weaken quickly once breathing becomes impossible. Death arrives not through violence but through systematic oxygen deprivation. Victory tastes sweeter when earned alone, though the celebration remains brief. You drag your prize toward cover before scavengers arrive to dispute ownership. Hyenas patrol constantly, their superior noses detecting fresh kills across kilometers. Solo lions cannot defend prizes against determined scavenger groups, making quick consumption essential for retaining nutritional benefits. The feeding frenzy that follows reflects weeks of hunger finally addressed. Your body prioritizes organ meat first: liver, heart, kidneys packed with concentrated nutrients. Muscle tissue follows, providing protein for maintaining strength during continued nomadic challenges. Nothing edible remains unused when each calorie might determine survival outcomes. You transport portions back to your sister, whose pregnancy demands regular nutrition despite hunting inability. Sharing reduces your own consumption but ensures species continuation through successful reproduction. Evolution programs these sacrificial behaviors into parental genetics, overriding individual survival instincts when offspring welfare hangs in the balance. The successful hunt provides temporary abundance, but tomorrow's hunger approaches with mathematical certainty. Solo hunting cannot sustain long-term nomadic lifestyle without territorial establishment or pride recruitment. Your sister's approaching birth adds urgency to decisions about settlement versus continued wandering. Cubs cannot survive constant travel, yet territory acquisition requires resources currently consumed by basic survival. Dawn reveals scattered bones and dried blood where your feast occurred. Soon, insects will clean even these remnants, returning organic matter to ecosystem cycles that support future prey generations. The impala's death enables your temporary survival while contributing to environmental processes larger than individual predator-prey relationships. Rest follows successful feeding, but vigilance never completely relaxes. Other predators investigate kill sites for remaining scraps, and lions represent valuable targets for rival species seeking territorial advantage. Your temporary satisfaction with hunting success cannot overshadow ongoing vulnerability inherent in nomadic existence. The moon sets as you settle into dawn rest, your belly full for the first time in days. Tonight's success proves solo hunting remains possible with proper technique and favorable circumstances. Yet statistical realities persist: most attempts will fail, and accumulated failures eventually overcome isolated successes. Individual hunting skills cannot indefinitely substitute for collective pride advantages. River crossing crocs in wait. The Talik River stretches before you like a brown snake coiled across the landscape, its waters swollen from distant rains that fell beyond your traveling range. Your sister stands beside you on the muddy bank, her sides heaving with the effort of advanced pregnancy. For 3 days you've paralleled the river's course, seeking narrower crossing points that never materialized. The seasonal imperative drives you forward water and game concentrate on the far bank, promising resources unavailable in the increasingly barren territory behind you. Crocodile eyes break the surface tension like amber beads scattered across dark fabric. Patient, primordial, perfectly evolved for exactly this scenario, desperate mammals forced into their domain by circumstances beyond terrestrial control. These armored predators have waited through countless dry seasons, their metabolisms slowed to conserve energy for moments when prey ventures within striking range. The river's current moves faster than expected, promising to drag swimming lions downstream into deeper channels where crocodile advantages multiply exponentially. Your coat, normally an asset for camouflage and protection, becomes liability when waterlogged. The added weight could prove fatal if escape requires rapid movement through aquatic environments, designed to favor reptilian hunters over mammalian visitors. You study the crossing patterns of other species for intelligence about safest routes. Zebra herds crossed here recently, their hoofprints mark both banks, and no scattered bones suggest successful predation. But zebras possess swimming advantages unavailable to lions. Their powerful legs and compact bodies cut through water more efficiently than your elongated feline form optimized for terrestrial hunting. The lead crocodile measures perhaps 4 meters from nose to tail. His scarred hide, speaking of decades spent perfecting ambush techniques in these very waters. Behind him, smaller individuals position themselves along likely escape routes, creating a gauntlet of snapping jaws and thrashing tails. Their coordination suggests pack hunting intelligence that rivals lion pride tactics. Your sister's condition adds urgency to calculations that might otherwise develop gradually. Her pregnancy progresses toward birth regardless of river crossings or territorial establishment. Cubs cannot survive nomadic wandering, yet reaching suitable denning territory requires navigating this aquatic obstacle course. Time pressure transforms careful planning into desperate necessity. Wind patterns carry scent information across the water. The far bank holds promise-fresh antelope tracks, established game trails, scent markers indicating territorial boundaries rather than established occupation. Success in crossing could provide foundation for territorial establishment. Failure means death in muddy waters far from familiar ground. The entry point requires careful selection. Steep banks offer limited escape options if crocodiles intercept midstream. Shallow approaches provide better footing, but extend time spent vulnerable in aquatic environments. You choose compromise, a moderate slope that balances accessibility against exposure duration during the crossing attempt. Your sister enters first, her maternal instincts overriding personal safety considerations. Pregnancy hormones shift behavioral priorities toward offspring protection, even when those offspring remain unborn. Her courage provides inspiration while simultaneously multiplying your own survival responsibilities. Losing her means losing the future cubs she carries. The water shocks with unexpected coldness, river temperatures moderated by underground springs that feed the system during dry seasons. Your paws sink into soft-bottom sediments that release clouds of disturbed mud, reducing visibility while announcing your presence to every sensory system within kilometers. Stealth becomes impossible once water entry commits you to crossing. The current immediately begins its work, pushing your bodies downstream faster than swimming speed can compensate. Mathematical calculations prove grimly accurate. You'll exit the river hundreds of meters below your intended landing point, assuming successful completion of the crossing attempt. The revised exit zone may offer different escape terrain with unknown advantages or obstacles. Crocodile movement creates ripples that spread across the water surface like expanding circles of potential death. You track multiple approach vectors while simultaneously fighting current and maintaining forward progress. The reptilian hunting strategy becomes apparent: wait for exhaustion to reduce prey mobility, then strike when resistance capacity reaches minimum effectiveness. Your sister struggles more severely than anticipated, her pregnancy weight creating drag that saps swimming efficiency. She falls behind despite determined efforts, forcing impossible decisions about individual versus collective survival strategies. Evolutionary programming conflicts between self-preservation instincts and species continuation imperatives embedded in parental behavioral patterns. The nearest crocodile approaches from your left flank, massive jaws partially submerged but clearly visible to prey, focused on survival rather than concealment. His attack run builds slowly, conserving energy while positioning for optimal strike angle and timing. Experience teaches these predators that patience rewards efficiency. Rushed attacks against healthy adults often fail while wasting precious energy reserves. Terror focuses your remaining strength into explosive swimming bursts that temporarily outdistance pursuing reptiles, but this pace cannot sustain across remaining distance to safety. Energy depletion approaches critical levels where continued resistance becomes physically impossible. The mathematics of aquatic pursuit favor crocodilian endurance over mammalian sprint capabilities. Salvation appears in unexpected form: a fallen tree extends from the far bank, creating partial bridge across the final 20 meters of river width. You reach this lifeline with strength reserves nearly exhausted, claws finding purchase on bark slick with algae and moisture. Behind you, your sister makes her own desperate lunge toward the same salvation. The tree trunk bends under combined weight, but holds, providing escape route above water level where crocodile attacks become impossible. You drag your sister up the improvised bridge as jaws snap futilely below. Her flanks heave with exhaustion that could trigger premature labor, but she's alive, and offspring remain viable within her womb. The far bank offers solid ground and immediate cover among reeds that line the water's edge. You collapse in mutual exhaustion, hearts hammering against ribs with rhythms that will take hours to normalize. Behind you, the river continues its ancient flow, carrying crocodiles back to deeper pools where they'll await the next desperate crossing attempt. Dawn breaks over your narrow escape, revealing landscape that justifies the terrible risks undertaken during river crossing. Fresh water flows from natural springs, prey animals concentrate in visible numbers, and scent markers suggest territorial availability rather than established occupation. The foundations for settlement exist here if you possess strength to claim and defend them. Dust season, drought, survival. The earth beneath your paws has cracked into geometric patterns that stretch toward horizons blurred by heat shimmer and dust. 6 weeks without significant rainfall have transformed the landscape into a parched moonscape where survival becomes daily negotiation with forces beyond any predator's control. Your sister lies in whatever shade the stunted acacia provides, her pregnancy now full term, while water sources disappear with mathematical precision. Elephant-excavated wells dot the landscape like ancient ruins, their engineering representing the accumulated wisdom of pachyderm architects who understand groundwater better than any other species. These massive herbivores dig methodically through hard-pan clay to reach water tables invisible to surface observers. Their work creates oases that sustain entire ecosystems during climate extremes that would otherwise prove fatal. You approach the nearest elephant well with extreme caution. 3 adult females and their calves occupy the excavation, their massive bodies creating living barriers around precious water resources. Territorial behavior intensifies during drought conditions as competition for survival necessities overrides normal social tolerances. Even herbivores become dangerous when dehydration threatens offspring survival. The waiting game begins patient observation, while elephant families complete their hydration requirements. These sessions can last hours as adults ensure every family member receives adequate water before departing. Your own thirst builds toward critical levels, but premature approach could trigger aggressive responses from protective matriarchs, weighing several tons each. Dawn and dusk become your primary activity periods, metabolic adaptation that conserves energy while avoiding peak heat stress. Midday temperatures exceed safe activity thresholds for large mammals lacking efficient cooling systems. You spend daylight hours in whatever shade exists, panting softly to release heat through respiratory evaporation while minimizing water loss through other physiological processes. Your sister's condition complicates every survival decision. Advanced pregnancy increases her water requirements precisely when availability reaches seasonal minimums. Birth approaches regardless of environmental conditions, biological imperatives proceeding according to genetic programming rather than external circumstances. Cubs cannot delay arrival until more favorable seasons return. Night hunting becomes essential despite reduced visibility and increased competition from other nocturnal predators. Prey animals also concentrate their activity during cooler periods, creating increased opportunity alongside elevated risks. Hyena clans patrol constantly during darkness, their superior night vision and numerical advantages making solitary lions vulnerable to coordinated attacks. Dew collection supplements limited water intake through techniques learned from desperate necessity. You wake before dawn to lick moisture condensed on grass, stems, and rocks, each droplet representing precious hydration unavailable through conventional sources. This behavior would seem degrading during abundant seasons, but becomes vital survival strategy when alternatives disappear. The mathematics of energy conservation dominate every decision. Movement burns calories that require successful hunting to replenish, but hunting success rates decline when prey animals adopt drought survival behaviors that prioritize water access over normal feeding patterns. The economic calculations become increasingly complex as variables multiply beyond simple predator-prey relationships. Metabolic slowdown represents your body's automatic response to resource scarcity. Heart rate decreases, digestion slows, and cellular processes reduce their energy demands to match available fuel supplies. This biological efficiency comes at costs: reduced strength, slower reflexes, decreased hunting success that create downward spirals difficult to reverse once established. Vulture behavior provides intelligence about carcass availability throughout your territory. These aerial scavengers locate death from distances impossible for ground-based predators, their circling patterns indicating opportunities for scavenging rather than active hunting. Competition for found meat intensifies during resource scarcity, making quick consumption essential before larger scavenger groups arrive. Your sister's water breaks during the season's hottest day, fluid loss occurring when dehydration already threatens her survival. Labor begins regardless of environmental conditions or resource availability. Cubs will arrive according to biological schedules established during conception, their timing independent of seasonal suitability or parental preparation levels. The birthing process unfolds in partial shade beside a dried stream bed, her body drawing on reserves accumulated during better times. Two cubs emerge small, blind, entirely dependent on maternal resources for survival. Their arrival doubles survival mathematics while providing genetic continuity that justifies previous hardships and sacrifices. Lactation demands enormous energy expenditure precisely when food sources reach seasonal lows. Your sister's body converts stored fat into milk production, while simultaneously requiring increased water intake for successful nursing. The biological mathematics seem impossible, yet countless lioness generations have navigated similar challenges through evolutionary adaptations tested across millennia. Cub protection adds new complexity to drought survival strategies. Den site selection must balance water access against security from other predators, attracted to the same scarce resources. The hiding spots that provide safety during normal seasons may lack proximity to water sources, essential for nursing mothers and developing offspring. You assume sole hunting responsibility while your sister recovers from birth and begins nursing duties. Success becomes critical not just for personal survival, but for maintaining milk production that keeps newborn cubs alive. The pressure transforms every hunt into life or death necessity, where failure cascades across multiple lives rather than affecting only individual survival. Underground springs provide the most reliable water sources during extreme drought conditions. These geological features continue flowing when surface streams disappear completely. Locating spring sites requires reading landscape signs invisible during abundant seasons, slight variations in vegetation color, subtle ground temperature differences, animal trail convergence patterns. Competition intensifies around remaining water sources as the drought enters its 7th week. Multiple predator species concentrate their territories around functional waterholes, creating dangerous confluence zones where territorial boundaries overlap and conflict becomes inevitable. Survival requires balancing hydration needs against combat risks that could prove fatal when weakened by resource scarcity. The season tests every survival adaptation developed through evolution's harsh mathematics. Only the most efficient water utilizers, energy conservers, and opportunity exploiters successfully navigate extreme resource scarcity. Your cubs represent genetic continuity earned through navigating challenges that eliminate less capable bloodlines. Their survival validates every desperate decision made during the dust season's relentless examination of fitness for environmental demands. First rains. Savannah reborn. The first drops arrive like whispered promises against my dusty coat. I lift my heavy head from the red earth, nostrils flaring to catch that unmistakable scent petrica, they call it. The smell of rain on dry ground. It's a perfume more intoxicating than any prey scent, more compelling than the musk of a potential mate. This is the smell of life itself, awakening from its long sleep. The sky has been building to this moment for days. Towering clouds, dark as elephant hide, have been gathering on the horizon like a slow-moving herd. Now they unleash their gift upon our parched world. Each droplet strikes the baked earth with a tiny explosion of dust and possibility. The ground drinks greedily, desperately, as if trying to swallow every precious drop before it can escape. I rise to my feet, feeling the cool moisture seep through my paw pads into the cracks that have formed in the soil during these long, dry months. The rain intensifies, and I tilt my muzzle skyward, letting the water run down my scarred face, washing away the accumulated dust of 100 hunting expeditions. It pools in the hollow of my throat, and I swallow gratefully. Thunder rolls across the savannah like the footsteps of ancient giants. But this isn't the sharp crack of danger, this is nature's lullaby, deep and rhythmic and reassuring. Each rumble seems to vibrate through the earth itself, a bass note that resonates in my chest cavity. The sound speaks of abundance to come, of full bellies and fat cubs, and rivers that will run clear and deep. Other lions in our scattered pride begin to emerge from whatever meager shade they've been sharing. We've been spread thin during the drought, each of us claiming our own small territory around the few remaining waterholes. But now, with the promise of renewal in the air, we start to converge. I can see my sister's golden form moving through the grass about 50 meters away, her coat darkening as the rain soaks through to her skin. The transformation begins almost immediately. Within hours, the savannah starts to shed its brown funeral shroud. Tiny green shoots push through the softened earth, with an urgency that speaks to the harsh realities of this place. They know, as we all do, that the window for growth is narrow and precious. The grass doesn't have time for a leisurely emergence. It must sprint toward the sun while the water lasts. By morning, the change is already remarkable. What was barren dirt yesterday now sports a fuzzy green carpet. The older grass tussocks, those survivors that managed to keep their roots alive through the dry season, seem to swell with new life. Their stems thicken, their leaves unfurl, and suddenly there's food again for the countless creatures that depend on these simple plants. The insect world explodes into activity. Termites, those industrious architects of the savannah, begin their frenzied construction projects. Their mounds, which stood like weathered monuments during the drought, now buzz with activity. Flying termites emerge in clouds so thick they darken the sky, their wings catching the light like scattered diamonds. They'll provide easy meals for the birds, and the birds will scatter seeds, and the seeds will grow into trees, and the cycle continues. Beetles emerge from their underground hideouts, their shells gleaming with moisture. Grasshoppers begin their percussion concerts, adding their voices to the growing symphony of renewal. Butterflies, seemingly conjured from nowhere, dance between the grass blades on wings that look too delicate for this harsh world. But it's the larger movements that truly signal the change. In the distance, I can see the first of the ungulate herds beginning to move. They've been waiting, just as we have, for this moment. The zebras are the first to arrive, their stripes wavering in the heat haze as they approach in long, cautious lines. They test the air with flared nostrils, ears swiveling to catch any hint of danger, but their hunger overrides their caution. Behind them come the wildebeest, those awkward philosophers of the plains. Their timing is impeccable. They arrive just as the grass reaches its most nutritious stage. They'll follow the rains across hundreds of miles, their ancient migration patterns written in their genes like a map passed down through countless generations. The pregnant females in these herds carry a special urgency. Their swollen bellies speak of the coming abundance, of calves that will be born into a world of plenty rather than scarcity. These youngsters will take their first wobbly steps on ground, soft with moisture, will nurse from mothers whose milk is rich with the nutrients of fresh grass. For us lions, this influx of prey means everything. During the drought, we've been reduced to scavenging and taking desperate risks. I've seen pride members attempt to hunt elephants in their desperation. seen cubs grow thin and listless as their mothers struggled to provide. But now, with the herds returning, we can return to our role as apex predators rather than desperate survivors. The promise of feasts ahead settles into my bones like a warm satisfaction. Soon, very soon, the hunting will be good again. New alliance, return to a pride. The rains have been falling for 3 days now, and with them comes a pull I haven't felt in months, the ancient magnetism of family. During the dry season, I've been a solitary wanderer, following the scattered water sources and the occasional weakened prey animal. But now, as the savannah blooms back to life, so does my need for connection. My cousins are out there somewhere, and it's time to find them. I follow the subtle signs that only we understand: the scent marks on termite mounds, the pattern of paw prints around the newly filled water holes, the way certain trees bear the claw marks of familiar individuals. These are the breadcrumbs that lead me home, though home for a lion is less a place than a constellation of relationships. The first contact comes through sound. I'm resting in the shade of an acacia when I hear it, a low call that carries across the grassland like a question. It's my cousin Django, his voice deeper now than when I last heard it 6 months ago. I lift my head and listen, parsing the subtle variations in his tone. He's announcing his presence but also testing the waters, checking to see who else might be within earshot. I wait several minutes before responding. In lion society, patience is respect, and I need to re-establish my place carefully. My answering call is pitched low and questioning, carrying the coded message of recognition mixed with submission. I'm not challenging his authority, not yet, but I'm announcing my desire to rejoin the social fabric we once shared. The response comes from multiple directions. Django again, but also Kessie, my aunt, her voice carrying the authority of matriarch. And there me heart quickens Asha, my sister, her familiar tone threading through the others like a melody I've carried in my memory through all the lonely months. The reunion location is never stated explicitly, but we all know where to meet. There's a particular kopje, a rocky outcropping about 2 kilometers from the seasonal river, where our pride has gathered for generations. The approach requires careful choreography. I make my way there slowly, stopping frequently to scent mark and listen, telegraphing my intentions at every step. I reach the perimeter of the gathering area as the sun reaches its zenith. The heat shimmers off the granite rocks, but I can make out the familiar shapes of my family members scattered in whatever shade they can find. My approach must be handled with the delicacy of a diplomatic negotiation. Too confident, and I'll be seen as challenging the established hierarchy. Too submissive, and I'll be relegated to the bottom of the social ladder. I begin with the classic head-low posture, my massive skull lowered until my chin nearly touches the ground. My ears are forward alert but not aggressive, and my tail hangs loose, swishing only slightly. This is the body language of respectful acknowledgement, the physical equivalent of removing one's hat in the presence of elders. Django is the first to respond. He's grown larger during our separation, his mane fuller and darker. The months of hunting alone have added muscle to his frame, but I can see the toll as well-new scars along his flanks, a slight limp in his left rear leg. He approaches with measured steps, his own head lowered but not as much as mine. We're negotiating hierarchy with every movement. The greeting begins with sound. He releases a low chuff, a sound like air being expelled through pursed lips. It's the lion equivalent of a handshake recognition without aggression. I respond with my own chuff, slightly higher in pitch, acknowledging his seniority. We're speaking a language older than words, communicating volumes through the subtle variations in tone and timing. The physical contact begins cautiously. Django extends his massive head toward mine, and we touch noses briefly. His scent fills my nostrils, familiar but changed, carrying new stories of different territories and different challenges. We circle each other slowly, our flanks brushing, each of us reading the other's condition through touch and smell. Asha is next, and with her the choreography becomes more elaborate. She's my sister, my closest genetic ally, but she's also claimed her own position in the pride during my absence. Her approach is confident, head held high, but her chuff carries notes of affection that make my chest rumble with reciprocal warmth. When we touch, she deliberately bumps her forehead against me, a gesture of familial intimacy that speaks to bonds deeper than hierarchy. The full reunion unfolds over several hours. Each member of the pride must be greeted individually, each relationship re-established according to its own particular dynamics. Kessie, the matriarch, grants me a brief head rub that feels like a benediction. The younger lions, those born since my departure, must be introduced and evaluated. They watch me with curious eyes, trying to understand where I fit in their mental map of authority and alliance. The most important part of reintegration isn't the greeting, it's the grooming that follows. As the afternoon heat begins to fade, Asha approaches me with purposeful intent. She begins by licking the top of my head, her rough tongue working through the tangles in my mane. The sensation is simultaneously soothing and symbolic. She's not just cleaning me, she's marking me with her scent, weaving me back into the social fabric of the pride. I reciprocate, running my tongue along her neck and shoulders, tasting the familiar salt of her skin. This mutual grooming is how we seal our pact, how we confirm that despite the months of separation, the bonds between us remain strong. Other Pride members join the session, creating a communal activity that reinforces every relationship simultaneously. As the sun sets on my first day back with family, I settle into the comfortable rhythm of communal rest. Bodies arrange themselves according to a complex calculus of relationship and comfort, each lion finding their optimal position in the group dynamic. I find myself positioned between Asha and one of the younger males, close enough to the center to feel included but not so close as to challenge established hierarchies. The sounds of the pride settling for the night, the soft huffs, the rustling of bodies against grass, the occasional sleepy grunt create a symphony of belonging that I've missed more than I realized. This is more than just social positioning. This is coming home. Cubs, at play, guardian role. The morning brings new responsibilities that settle on my shoulders like the familiar weight of my mane. 3 Cubstwo females and a male, born during the rains to my sister Asha tumble out of the den with the reckless energy that only the very young possess. Their spotted coats catch the early sunlight as they wrestle with each other, their oversized paws tangling in the grass. Today, while the hunting females rest and groom, I've been assigned the ancient role of guardian and teacher. The cubs regard me with that particular mixture of curiosity and boldness that makes young lions both endearing and exhausting. The larger female, whom I've privately named Brave Eyes for her habit of staring directly at adults, approaches me with the swagger of someone who hasn't yet learned to fear anything. Her brother, smaller but more aggressive, circles behind me as if planning an ambush on my tail. The third cub, quieter than her siblings, watches everything with the calculating intelligence that suggests she'll grow into a formidable huntress. Brave Eyes makes the first move, launching herself at my left forepaw with a mock growl that sounds more like a sneeze. Her tiny claws, sharp as thorns, dig into my pad as she attempts to wrestle my massive paw into submission. I could shake her off without effort, but instead I play my part in this ancient dance of education. I lift my paw slightly, just enough to make her victory feel earned, and she tumbles backward with a chirp of triumph. The brother takes this as his cue to attack my tail, which has been twitching with calculated temptation just within his reach. He pounces with surprising coordination for a cub barely 3 months old, his small teeth finding purchase on the tuft of hair at my tail's tip. I flick it gently, sending him rolling through the grass in a somersault that makes him dizzy with delight. This is more than mere play. This is the foundation of everything they'll need to survive. Each mock battle teaches them about balance, timing, and the physics of their own bodies. When Brave Eyes leaps at my muzzle and I dodge just slowly enough for her to make contact, she's learning about judging distances and understanding the commitment required for a successful attack. When her brother learns to coordinate his hind legs to push off effectively during his tail pouncing, he's mastering the muscular memory that will one day help him bring down a zebra. The quiet one, meanwhile, has positioned herself where she can observe everything while remaining safely out of the direct action. This behavioral pattern watching, learning, calculating risk will serve her well in a world where a single mistake can mean starvation or death. I make sure to include her in the play session by occasionally rolling toward her, gentle enough not to frighten but engaging enough to draw her into the action. As the morning progresses, I begin introducing more structured lessons disguised as games. When the cubs grow bored with attacking me, I guide them toward a fallen log where the real learning can begin. I demonstrate the low belly crawl that every successful hunter must master, showing them how to keep their profiles hidden while moving through cover. The cubs attempt to imitate me, their bellies dragging comically through the dirt, their rumps sticking up like furry hills. Brave Eyes gets the concept first, managing a creditable stalking pose that brings an approving rumble from deep in my chest. Her brother is too excited to maintain the required stillness, his tail betraying his position with enthusiastic twitching. The quiet one, predictably, executes the move with careful precision on her first attempt. A group of warthogs provides our first real-world lesson. They're foraging about 100 meters away, their ugly heads buried in the grass as they search for roots and insects. I settle the cubs behind a convenient termite mound and begin pointing out the critical details that separate successful hunters from hungry ones. Watch how they position themselves. I communicate through subtle shifts in posture and soft vocalizations. See how the big male keeps his head up, scanning for danger while the others feed. That one is your primary threat. He's the one who will sound the alarm, the one who will charge if he detects you. The cubs follow my gaze with growing intensity. They're beginning to understand that this isn't just another game, this is a glimpse into their future. I show them how to read the wind, how to use the termite mound's shadow to break up their silhouettes, how to move only when the warthog's attention is focused elsewhere. We don't actually attempt to hunt, of course. These cubs won't be ready for serious hunting for at least another year. But the foundation is being laid, the neural pathways carved, that will eventually allow them to feed themselves and their own cubs. The lesson takes an unexpected turn when a family of elephants appears on the horizon. The cubs, still high on their imagined prowess as predators, show alarming interest in these massive grey shapes. Brave Eyes actually takes a few steps toward them before I block her path with my body. This becomes a crucial, teachable moment about understanding your own limitations. Elephants aren't prey, they're mobile natural disasters that can crush a full-grown lion without even noticing. I use this opportunity to demonstrate proper respect behavior, showing the cubs how to give elephants a wide berth, how to read their mood from their ear positions and trunk movements, how to recognize the signs that indicate when retreat is the only sensible option. The cubs absorb this lesson with the gravity it deserves. Even at their young age, they can sense the difference between prey animals and those creatures that exist entirely outside the predator-prey dynamic. The elephants pass by like grey mountains, their massive feet creating small earthquakes with each step, their presence serving as a humbling reminder of the savanna's hierarchy. As the day wears on, I find myself reflecting on the deeper purpose of my guardianship. These cubs carry the genetic legacy of our pride, but more than that, they represent the future of our kind. Every lesson I teach them, every behavior I model, becomes part of the accumulated wisdom that has allowed lions to thrive in Africa for millennia. The science calls it kin selection, the evolutionary drive to ensure the survival of individuals who share our genes. But sitting here with these playful, vulnerable, endlessly curious young lions, it feels like something much more fundamental. It feels like hope made manifest, like the promise that the roar of lions will continue to echo across these grasslands long after my own voice has fallen silent. Hunt school passing the craft. The subadults are ready for their final examinations. 2 young males and a female, each now weighing close to what they'll carry as adults, gather around me in the pre-dawn darkness with the nervous energy of students about to face their most important test. They've been hunting with the pride for months now, participating in the easier kills, learning through observation and limited participation. But today marks their transition from followers to contributors, from burden to asset. The female, lithe and intelligent, positions herself closest to me. Her name, if lions had such things, would be Shadow Walker for her natural ability to move without disturbing so much as a grass blade. The 2 male-sown broad-shouldered and patient, the other leaner but quick-thinking flank her like bookends. All 3 carry the focused intensity that comes with understanding that failure here means not just missing a meal, but potentially missing many meals to come. Our classroom is the open savanna at its most challenging hour. The darkness before dawn provides cover, but it also conceals dangers and obstacles that daylight would reveal. The young lions must learn to hunt not just with their eyes, but with all their senses integrated into a single, focused instrument of precision. Our target grazes about 300 meters away, small sounder of warthogs, 5 adults and several juveniles, their distinctive silhouettes just visible against the lightening sky. Warthogs represent the perfect training prey for young lions. They're large enough to provide a substantial meal, but not so large as to pose serious danger to inexperienced hunters. More importantly, they're intelligent and alert, requiring genuine skill to approach successfully. I begin the lesson by having my students observe and analyze. Study the group dynamic. I communicate through subtle positioning and quiet vocalizations. Identify the leader, the sentries, the escape routes. A successful hunt begins long before the first step is taken. Shadow Walker immediately demonstrates why she's earned her unofficial name. Her golden eyes track the movements of each warthog, noting which one keeps lifting its head to scan for danger, which ones are too focused on feeding to maintain proper vigilance. She identifies the dominant Bora-scarred veteran, whose tusks gleam even in the dim light as the primary threat that must be neutralized or avoided. The two males take longer to read the scene, but eventually they too begin to understand the complex social choreography playing out before us. The patient one notices how the warthogs have positioned themselves near a series of termite mounds that could provide either cover for stalking lions or escape routes for fleeing prey. The quick-thinking one identifies the wind direction and realizes we'll need to approach from the southeast to avoid detection. With the preliminary analysis complete, I guide them toward their first practical lesson, the approach. This is where months of practice must transform into instinctive behavior. Every movement must be deliberate, every step calculated. The difference between a successful hunt and a hungry night often comes down to a single misplaced paw or a moment of inattention. We begin the stalk in single file, with me leading to demonstrate proper technique. My movements are exaggerated for teaching purpose, each step planted carefully, each pause timed to coincide with moments when the warthog's attention is focused elsewhere. The young lions follow, attempting to match my rhythm and style. The broad-shouldered male struggles with the low belly crawl required for crossing open ground. His size, which will eventually be an asset in bringing down large prey, now works against him as he attempts to keep his profile hidden. I pause our advance to work with him individually, showing him how to distribute his weight more evenly, how to use his powerful shoulders to propel himself forward without raising his silhouette above the grass line. Shadow Walker masters the technique almost immediately, her natural athleticism serving her well. But I notice she's moving too quickly, her eagerness to demonstrate competence overriding the patience that successful hunting requires. I slow our entire group, forcing her to match a more sustainable pace. Speed without control is just noise. I communicate through deliberate measured movements. We use a large termite mound as our staging area for the final approach. From here, the warthogs are clearly visible, still feeding but with increasing alertness as the eastern horizon begins to lighten. Dawn is both friend and enemy to hunting. Lion sit provides better visibility but also reduces our natural advantage in low-light conditions. The lesson now shifts to coordination and timing. I position each young lion according to their individual strengths and the specific requirements of this hunt. Shadow Walker, with her superior stealth, takes the left flank where she can potentially cut off the warthog's primary escape route. The patient male positions himself for a direct charge once the prey is committed to flight. The quick-thinking one covers the right side, ready to adapt to whatever chaos ensues once the action begins. The final approach requires a level of nerve that can't be taught, only discovered. Each young lion must find that internal switch that transforms them from cautious observer to committed predator. I watch their faces in the growing light, seeing the moment when calculation gives way to instinct, when the ancient programming embedded in their DNA finally activates. The attack, when it comes, unfolds with the controlled chaos that characterizes all successful lion hunts. Shadow Walker executes her approach flawlessly, appearing seemingly from nowhere to block the warthog's retreat toward the rocky outcropping they favor for shelter. The patient male's charge is perfectly timed, his powerful legs propelling him forward, just as the prey animals commit to their flight path. But it's the quick-thinking male who makes the crucial adaptation that turns potential failure into success. When the dominant boar breaks from the group and charges toward what he perceives as the weakest attacker, the young lion doesn't panic or retreat. Instead, he sidesteps at the last moment and redirects the boar's momentum, sending the dangerous animal tumbling past him and creating an opening for his companions. The hunt concludes with the cooperative takedown that represents the pinnacle of lion hunting technique. All three young lions work together, each playing their role in the final moments that separate predator from prey. Their coordination isn't perfect, that will come with experience, but it's effective enough to secure the meal that validates their new status as full contributors to the pride's survival. As we settle down to feed, I reflect on the deeper meaning of what has just transpired. These young lions have crossed an invisible threshold, moving from dependence to capability. But more than that, they've connected with something ancient and essential: the patient mastery that has allowed our kind to thrive in one of the world's most challenging environments. Patience, I realize, isn't just a hunting technique. It's a philosophy, a way of understanding that true mastery comes not from rushing toward goals, but from allowing skills to develop naturally, like grass growing after rain. In a world that demands immediate gratification, we lions remain committed to the slow cultivation of excellence. Carcass clash hyenas in the night. The zebra lies still beneath the acacia tree, its black and white stripes now dulled by dust and the dim light of dusk. The pride has fed well, their bellies round and heavy with meat. One by one, they drift away from the kill, seeking comfortable spots in the cooling grass to begin their long digestion. The cubs tumble over each other playfully, their energy still high despite the feast, while the adult lionesses settle into drowsy contentment. But the night is far from quiet. In the distance, a sound drifts across the savanna that every lion knows well. It starts as a low whooping call, then rises into that distinctive laughing cackle that has earned hyenas their reputation. The sound multiplies, echoing from different directions as more voices join the chorus. They're coming, and they know exactly where the zebra lies. The first hyena appears as a shadow at the edge of the clearing, its shoulders hunched high and powerful, built for the work of scavenging and stealing. It moves with careful purpose, testing the air with its sensitive nose, reading the story of the hunt that took place here hours ago. More shapes emerge from the darkness, their eyes catching what little light remains. They don't rush forward immediately. Instead, they wait, watching, calculating. The lionesses are no longer sleepy. Years of evolution have programmed them to recognize this particular threat. Hyenas aren't just scavengers looking for scraps. They're organized competitors with their own agenda. The lead lioness lifts her head from where she'd been resting, her amber eyes scanning the growing number of spotted figures surrounding their kill. She knows this dance well. What follows is one of nature's most fascinating displays of tactical warfare. The hyenas don't charge blindly toward the carcass. Instead, they begin to form a loose circle around the kill site, each animal positioning itself with military precision. They communicate through soft grunts and postures, coordinating their movements like a well-drilled unit. The circle tightens gradually, each hyena maintaining its position while the group as a whole closes in. The lionesses respond with their own formation. They position themselves between the hyenas and the zebra, shoulder to shoulder, presenting a unified front. Their tails twitch with tension, and low growls rumble from their throats. But this isn't mere aggression, it's negotiation. Both species understand the rules of this ancient game. The hyenas test the lion's resolve with feints and false charges. One will dart forward toward the carcass, drawing the attention of the lionesses, while another probes for weakness on the opposite side. It's a game of distraction and opportunity, each side looking for the moment when their opponent's guard drops. The lionesses counter with their own tactical movements, one stepping forward to meet a charging hyena, while another maintains position to guard against flanking maneuvers. What's remarkable about these confrontations is how rarely they result in serious injury. Both species seem to understand that the cost of a real fight often outweighs the benefit of the meal. Instead, they engage in elaborate displays of strength and determination. The hyena's cackle and posture, showing their impressive teeth and powerful jaws. The lionesses roar and swipe at the air, demonstrating their claws and superior size. The standoff can last for hours. Sometimes the hyenas will temporarily retreat, only to regroup and return with reinforcements. Other times, the lions will abandon the kill voluntarily, deciding that the energy cost of defending it is too high. Tonight, however, the pride has invested too much in this zebra to give up easily. The tension escalates when more hyenas arrive. Their clan has grown to nearly 20 individuals, while the pride has only 6 adult females present. The numbers are shifting in the hyenas' favor, and they know it. Their calls become more frequent and aggressive, and their circle tightens noticeably. One young lioness, inexperienced in these confrontations, breaks formation and charges directly at a group of hyenas. It's exactly what they've been waiting for. As she commits to her attack, several hyenas converge on her from different angles. She finds herself outnumbered and surrounded, snapping and swiping at enemies on all sides. The other lionesses must choose between protecting their sister and guarding the carcass. In the end, it's the oldest lioness who makes the decision. With a series of sharp grunts, she signals the retreat. The pride begins to back away from the zebra, moving slowly and deliberately, never turning their backs on the hyenas. It's not surrender, it's strategic withdrawal. They'll let the hyenas have this meal, but they've made their point about the cost of taking it. The hyenas don't celebrate their victory immediately. They approach the abandoned carcass cautiously, still wary of a trap. Only when the lions have moved a safe distance away do they begin to feed. Their feeding is frenzied and efficient, unlike the leisurely meals of the pride. They know that other scavengers will arrive soon, and they must consume as much as possible before the next challenge. As the hyenas tear into the zebra, the lionesses settle down to watch from a distance. There's no shame in their retreat. They understand that survival on the savannah requires choosing battles wisely. Tomorrow there will be other hunts, other kills, other opportunities. For now, they rest and digest their earlier meal while the night fills with the sounds of the hyenas' feast. This ancient rivalry between lions and hyenas reflects a deeper truth about life in the wild. Both species have evolved to exploit the same resources, leading to inevitable conflict. But they've also developed mutual respect born from countless encounters. Each side understands the other's capabilities and limits. The hyenas know that lions can kill them with a single swipe, while the lions know that hyenas in large numbers can overwhelm even the strongest pride. The confrontation ends as it began, with careful observation and calculated decisions. As dawn approaches, the hyenas finish their meal and disappear into the tall grass. The zebra is now just scattered bones and hide, picked clean by efficient scavengers. The lions rise from their resting places and begin to move toward their territory's borders, where new hunting opportunities await. In the growing light of morning, the battlefield looks peaceful once again. Only the bones remain to tell the story of the night's drama, and soon even these will be claimed by smaller scavengers and insects. The great cycle continues, each species playing its role in the endless dance of survival that defines life on the African savanna. The morning sun rises over a pride forever changed. Where yesterday there were 6 lionesses, today there are only 5. Kessie lies motionless beneath the fever tree, where she collapsed during the night, her golden coat already beginning to cool in the dawn air. She was the second-born daughter of the pride's matriarch, a skilled hunter in her prime, and now she is gone. The other lionesses discovered her at first light. There was no dramatic death scene, no battle wounds or signs of struggle. Sometimes life simply ends quietly on the savannah, claimed by disease, parasites, or the accumulated stress of survival. Kessie's heart had simply stopped beating sometime before dawn, leaving her sisters to confront the reality of loss. What happens next reveals something profound about lion society. These are not just hunting partners or territorial allies. They are family, bound by blood and years of shared experience. Their response to Kessie's death demonstrates emotional depths that humans are only beginning to understand in wild animals. The first to approach the body is Jengo, Kessie's littermate and closest companion. She moves slowly, her head lowered, every step deliberate and careful. When she reaches her sister's side, she stops for a long moment, simply standing and looking. Then, gently, she begins to sniff around Kessie's head and neck, gathering information that her nose can provide but her eyes cannot. Satisfied that her sister is truly gone, Django lies down beside the body. She positions herself so that her flank touches Kessie's cooling fur, maintaining physical contact even in death. This isn't random behavior, it's the beginning of a vigil that will last most of the day. One by one, the other lionesses approach. Each follows a similar pattern: careful investigation, gentle sniffing, and then settling nearby. They don't crowd around the body, but instead form a loose circle, each finding her own space while maintaining the group connection. The pride's matriarch, Kessie's mother, is the last to arrive. Her approach is the most hesitant, as if she already knows what she will find but cannot quite accept it. When the old lioness finally reaches her daughter's side, her reaction is the most profound. She doesn't just sniff or lie down, she begins to groom Kessie's fur with long, careful strokes of her tongue. This is the same grooming behavior that bonds living Pride members, but now it serves a different purpose. She's saying goodbye in the only way she knows how. The grooming is methodical and thorough. The mother starts with Kessie's face, cleaning around her closed eyes and ears with the same care she showed when Kessie was a cub. She works her way down the neck and shoulders, her rough tongue smoothing the golden fur that will never again ripple with movement. The other lionesses watch silently, occasionally joining in the grooming but mostly maintaining their respectful distance. This behavior puzzles many observers, but it serves important evolutionary purposes. The extended contact allows the pride to fully process the reality of their loss. Without this ritual acknowledgement, Pride members might waste energy searching for a missing companion or waiting for her return. The vigil ensures that everyone understands that Kessie is gone and will not be coming back. The cubs, too young to fully understand death, try to engage their aunt in play. They approach Kessie's still form and paw at her tail, expecting the usual playful response. When nothing happens, they grow confused and frustrated. They mew and chirp, trying to wake her from what they perceive as an unusually deep sleep. The adult lionesses gently but firmly guide the cubs away, their own grief complicated by the need to protect the young from this harsh lesson. As the day progresses, the vigil takes on different characteristics. Sometimes all the lionesses rest quietly near the body, their presence a silent tribute to their fallen sister. Other times, one or two will continue grooming while the others move away to hunt or patrol territory. They take turns, ensuring that Kessie is never completely alone during these final hours. The emotional cost of this vigil is significant. Lions are practical creatures who cannot afford to waste energy on behaviors that don't contribute to survival. Yet they maintain this watch despite the demands of daily life. Cubs need to be fed, territory must be defended, and hunting opportunities cannot be ignored indefinitely. The fact that they prioritize this morning ritual speaks to its deep importance in lion society. Researchers have documented similar behaviors in other social species, suggesting that grief, or something resembling it, is more widespread in the animal kingdom than once believed. The evolutionary advantage may lie in the social bonding that these rituals reinforce. By mourning together, the pride strengthens the relationships among surviving members, creating unity that will be essential for future survival. By late afternoon, the vigil begins to shift. The lionesses start spending longer periods away from Kessie's body, ranging further to drink water and relieve themselves. The matriarch makes the first extended departure, disappearing for nearly an hour before returning. This pattern of gradually increasing absence serves as preparation for the final goodbye. As evening approaches, a critical decision must be made. The pride cannot remain indefinitely with their dead companion. Predators and scavengers are beginning to take notice, drawn by the scent of death. Hyenas call in the distance, and vultures circle overhead. The lionesses must balance their grief with the practical need to protect themselves and the cubs. The matriarch makes the final choice. As the sun begins to set, she rises from beside her daughter's body and begins to walk away. Her departure is slow and reluctant, marked by frequent stops to look back. But she is the leader, and her decision signals to the others that it's time to go. One by one, the other lionesses follow. Some stop for a final sniff or gentle touch of Kessie's cooling fur. Others simply walk away without looking back, their grief expressed through body language rather than ritual. The cubs, still confused by the day's events, follow their mothers away from the fever tree. Within an hour, the pride has moved several hundred meters away. They settle for the night within sight of Kessie's body, but far enough away to avoid the scavengers that will inevitably come. As darkness falls, they can hear the approach of hyenas and jackals, drawn by opportunity. By morning, nature will have claimed Kessie's remains. The pride will continue their journey across the savannah, carrying her memory in ways we may never fully understand. Her genetic legacy lives on in her cubs and nephews, while her hunting knowledge has been passed to the next generation through years of shared experience. The fever tree stands empty now, but its shade will shelter other creatures in the endless cycle of life and death that defines the savannah. In losing Kessie, the pride has been reminded of their own mortality, but also of the bonds that make their dangerous lives possible. They are stronger for having mourned together, united by shared loss, and the knowledge that they must continue without their sister's strength. Fire on the horizon, instinctive flight. The first wisps of smoke appear as thin grey threads against the amber afternoon sky, barely visible above the acacia crowns. Our lion lifts his massive head from the shade where he's been dozing, nostrils flaring as ancient instincts decode the message carried on the wind: fire. Still distant, but moving with the relentless hunger that has shaped the savannah for millions of years. In the dry season, the grasslands become a tinderbox of brittle stems and desiccated leaves. A single lightning strike from the towering cumulonimbus clouds that build each afternoon can ignite an inferno that will consume thousands of acres before dawn. The lion's ancestors learned long ago to read these signs, to understand the language of wind and flame that determines survival on the African plains. The breeze shifts, carrying with it the acrid scent of burning grass and something else, the sharp, ozone-tinged smell that precedes the lightning. The lion rises to his full height, golden eyes scanning the horizon where a faint orange glow has begun to pulse against the darkening sky. His muscles tense, not with the focused energy of a hunt, but with the deeper, more primal preparation for flight. This is not the panicked scramble of prey animals. Lions approach wildfire with the same calculated precision they bring to taking down a buffalo. The big cat moves to higher ground, a rocky outcrop that provides both vantage point and temporary refuge. From here, he can see the fire's true scopier line of flames, perhaps 2 miles wide, advancing steadily through the dry grass with the methodical persistence of an army. The wind patterns tell the story of the fire's future path. Lions learn to read these invisible currents as clearly as they read tracks in the dust. The prevailing easterly wind pushes the flames westward, but the lion's sensitive nose detects the subtle shifts and eddies that reveal where the fire will turn, where it will slow, where it might leap across apparent barriers. Behind the main fire front, smaller blazes flicker and dance, where burning debris has been carried ahead by the wind. These satellite fires create a deadly chess game across the landscape. The lion must plot a course that avoids not just the current flames, but the areas where new fires are likely to ignite in the coming hours. The temperature has dropped several degrees as the fire draws oxygen from the surrounding air, creating its own weather system. Great columns of smoke rise like pillars into the sky, their bases glowing orange and red, their tops spreading into anvil shapes that mirror the storm clouds above. Lightning continues to flicker within these smoke columns, each flash a potential source of new ignition. The lion begins his retreat, moving with the fluid grace that masks his 700-pound bulk. He follows game trails worn smooth by countless generations of animals, paths that wind between termite mounds and around rocky outcrops, always seeking the routes that offer the best escape options. This is choreography learned over a lifetime of dry seasons, a dance between predator and the ultimate predator fire itself. Water sources become crucial waypoints in this retreat. The lion knows every waterhole, every seasonal stream, every depression where rainwater might still linger from the last storm. These are not just drinking spots but potential fire breaks, places where the flames might slow or stop entirely. The moisture in the soil around these water sources creates natural barriers, though the lion's experience tells him never to trust them completely. As darkness falls, the fire's true majesty reveals itself. What appeared as a modest glow in daylight now dominates the horizontal wall of orange and yellow that stretches from earth to sky. The flames leap 30 feet into the air, consuming everything in their path with a sound like continuous thunder. Sparks spiral upward in great spiraling columns, each one a potential seed of destruction carried on the wind. The lion maintains his steady pace, neither hurrying nor dawdling. Panic is the enemy of survival. He has learned to trust his instincts, to read the subtle signs that indicate safe passage. The direction of the grass as it bends in the wind, the behavior of other animals, the way the smoke moves through the air, all of these inform his decisions. Smaller creatures stream past him in the darkness: warthogs, antelope, even insects fleeing the advancing flames. The usual predator-prey relationships are suspended in this moment of shared crisis. The lion pays them little attention, focused entirely on his own survival. There will be time for hunting later, when the fire has passed and the burned landscape begins its cycle of renewal. The ground beneath his paws grows warmer as he moves, heat radiating up through the soil from underground root systems that have begun to smolder. The lion's thick pads provide some protection, but he knows that staying in one place too long could mean painful burns. He keeps moving, following the ancient pathways that have guided his kind through countless fire seasons. Behind him, the flames continue their advance, creating their own wind patterns as they consume the oxygen in the air. These fire-generated winds can be stronger than the natural breezes, capable of carrying burning debris for miles. The lion's ears swivel constantly, monitoring not just the sound of the flames but the subtle changes in air movement that might indicate a shift in the fire's direction. As the night deepens, the spectacle becomes even more dramatic. The fire creates its own aurora, painting the sky in shades of red and orange that can be seen for 50 miles. The lion moves through this apocalyptic landscape with the calm determination of a creature perfectly adapted to its environment, reading the signs, following the ancient protocols that have ensured the survival of his species for millennia. The choreography of escape continues until dawn, when the fire will either burn itself out against natural barriers or be extinguished by the rains that often follow these dramatic displays. The lion's retreat is not just flight, it is a masterclass in survival, a demonstration of the deep intelligence that has allowed the great cats to thrive in one of the world's most challenging environments. Full moon mating nights. The full moon rises like a silver coin above the acacia trees, casting everything in pale light that transforms the familiar savanna into something ethereal and strange. Our lion stands silhouetted against this luminescent backdrop, his magnificent mane rippling in the evening breeze. At 8 years old, he has reached the peak of his physical prowess, and tonight the ancient rhythms of reproduction call to him with irresistible force. The lioness approaches through the moon-silvered grass, her movements fluid and purposeful. She has been in estrus for 3 days now, her scent carrying the complex chemical signals that have drawn him from miles away. Every few steps, she pauses to rub against low bushes and rocky outcrops, leaving her pheromones as a calling card that speaks directly to the most primitive parts of his brain. Their courtship begins with the deep, rumbling growls that seem to emanate from the very earth itself. These are not the territorial roars that carry for miles across the savanna, but something more intimate, more primal. The lioness responds with her own vocalizations, a series of low moans and purrs that create a duet older than human memory. Their voices blend in the moonlight, creating harmonies that speak of desire and genetic destiny. The male approaches cautiously, despite his size advantage. A lioness in estrus is a formidable creature, capable of delivering devastating swipes with her powerful claws if the mood strikes her wrong. He extends his massive head toward her, and she responds by lifting her chin, exposing her throat in a gesture of temporary submission. Their noses touch briefly, a moment of tenderness that contrasts sharply with the raw power both animals represent. The phlegm response follows naturally. The lion curls back his lips, revealing his impressive canine teeth, and draws air deep into his mouth. The special organ in his palate, the vomeronasal organ, analyzes the chemical cocktail of her scent with the precision of a laboratory instrument. Her pheromones tell him everything he needs to know about her reproductive status, her health, her genetic compatibility. This is nature's own fertility test, conducted with an accuracy that would impress any scientist. The lioness moves away, but not far. She crouches low, her hindquarters raised in the universal feline invitation. The male mounts her with surprising gentleness for such a massive creature, his forelegs wrapping around her torso. The actual mating is brief, perhaps 30 seconds of intense activity, but the sounds they make together carry across the moonlit landscape like a primordial song of creation. What follows is one of nature's most remarkable exhibitions of reproductive strategy. Within 15 minutes, the lioness is ready again. Her estrus cycle is designed for maximum efficiency, cramming as much genetic activity as possible into her brief fertile window. The male, despite his size and strength, must match her stamina. They will mate again and again throughout the night, sometimes as frequently as every 20 minutes, creating a marathon of reproduction that can last for days. Between matings, they rest together in the silver light, their bodies touching in ways that speak of more than just biological necessity. The lioness grooms the male's mane with her rough tongue, removing burrs and dirt while simultaneously spreading her scent across his fur. He returns the favor, licking her face and neck with surprising tenderness, their purrs creating a constant background hum that seems to vibrate through the ground itself. The moon tracks across the sky as their cycle continues. Each mating increases the chances of successful fertilization, but it also serves another crucial purpose. The frequent copulations trigger hormonal changes in the lioness that synchronize her ovulation with the presence of sperm, maximizing the likelihood of conception. This is reproductive efficiency honed by millions of years of evolution, a system so sophisticated that modern fertility specialists are still learning from it. But this moonlit romance carries dangers that lurk just beyond the circle of their intimacy. Other males patrol the territory's boundaries, drawn by the same scent that brought our lion to this encounter. The lioness's estrus pheromones can travel for miles on the night wind, attracting every mature male within a day's journey. Some of these suitors are younger, hungrier, more desperate. Others are seasoned veterans with their own claims to territory and reproductive rights. The risks extend beyond simple competition. Lions are among the few cats where infanticide is common, where males routinely kill cubs that are not their own. This brutal reality drives much of their mating behavior. The lioness needs to mate with the strongest, most dominant male available, but she also benefits from mating with multiple partners. Genetic diversity strengthens her offspring, but it also creates confusion about paternity that can protect her future cubs from infanticidal males. The male's own hormonal cocktail surges with each mating. Testosterone floods his system, making him more aggressive, more territorial, more willing to fight off challenges. But it also makes him more vulnerable to miscalculation. The hormone-drunk male might pick fights he cannot win or neglect his territory while focused on reproduction. These are the risks and rewards of the genetic lottery, played out under the African stars. As the night deepens, their vocalizations become more intense. The lioness's calls take on an almost musical quality, rising and falling in patterns that seem to echo the rhythm of the moon's passage across the sky. The male's responses are deeper, more guttural, but equally complex. These are not random sounds but sophisticated communications, each vocalization carrying information about arousal, dominance, and genetic fitness. The moonlight reveals the physical toll of their marathon. The male's breathing becomes labored between matings, his massive chest rising and falling like a bellows. The lioness shows her own signs of exhaustion, but her estrus hormones drive her to continue. This is her brief window of fertility, perhaps her only chance to reproduce this year. Every mating increases the odds of genetic success, but also increases the physical cost. Other sounds punctuate the night around them, the distant roar of a rival male testing boundaries, the bark of a zebra stallion alert to predators, the whooping call of hyenas, drawn by the scent of lions but wise enough to keep their distance. The savannah is alive with the sounds of creatures going about their nocturnal business, but the two lions remain focused on their ancient ritual. By dawn, they will have mated dozens of times, their bodies exhausted but their genetic mission accomplished. The lioness will carry the potential for new life, while the male will return to his territory with the satisfaction of successful reproduction. The full moon will wane, but the consequences of this night will ripple through the pride for generations to come. sovereign peak ruling the territory. The sun climbs toward its zenith as our lion surveys his domain from the highest point in his territoria, weathered granite outcrop that rises like a throne above the golden grasslands. At 9 years old, he has reached the apex of his power, his dark mane thick and lustrous, his body carrying the confident weight of absolute authority. This is sovereignty in its purest form, earned through years of battle, defended through constant vigilance, and maintained through the delicate balance of strength and wisdom that defines a truly successful territorial male. His mane tells the story of his dominance. Each strand has been darkened by testosterone, creating the magnificent black crown that serves as both armor and advertisement. The thickness speaks of genetic superiority, while the length demonstrates his ability to maintain himself in peak condition despite the demands of territorial defense. Younger males sport lighter, thinner manes, while older ones often show the gray and thinning that signal declining power. His mane is at its absolute prime, a declaration of virility that can be read from miles away. The territory he commands stretches in all directions, encompassing nearly 20 square miles of prime savanna real estate. Every kopje, every waterhole, every game trail falls under his jurisdiction. He has walked these boundaries so many times that his paws have worn permanent paths in the red earth, creating a network of highways that speak of ownership and constant patrol. This is not merely land he occupies, but space he has claimed through right of conquest and holds through demonstration of power. His morning routine begins with the territorial roar, a sound that has become as regular as sunrise itself. The call builds slowly, starting deep in his chest and emerging as a series of low grunts that gradually amplify into the full-throated proclamation that gives lions their reputation as the voice of Africa. The roar carries for 8 miles in the still morning air, a sonic boundary marker that announces his presence to rivals, reassures his pride, and maintains the invisible lines that define his kingdom. The response comes within minutes. From the eastern boundary, a younger male answers with his own roar, shorter and higher pitched, acknowledging the challenge but not yet ready to contest it directly. From the south, Silence, the old male who once held that territory, disappeared months ago, leaving a power vacuum that our lion has not yet chosen to fill. Expansion requires energy, and energy must be carefully managed when you're defending an empire. The diplomatic nature of these roar-offs reveals the sophisticated social intelligence that underlies lion society. These are not random displays of aggression but calculated communications, each call carrying information about the caller's size, health, and intentions. Our lion's roar is perfectly pitched to convey maximum authority with minimum effort. He has learned to read the subtle variations in his rival's calls, detecting signs of weakness, illness, or growing confidence that might signal future challenges. His patrol route takes him first to the eastern boundary, where the young pretender has been testing his limits. The scent marks here are fresh, layered with the competing fragrances of multiple males. Our lion adds his own signature, lifting his leg to spray urine mixed with the secretions from his anal glands. The chemical message is complex and specific: mature male, excellent health, high testosterone levels, recent feeding, and the confidence that comes with successful territorial defense. The technique of scent marking reveals the precision of his territorial management. He doesn't simply mark randomly but follows a strategic pattern that maximizes the impact of his messages. High-traffic areas get the most attention, while remote corners receive just enough marking to maintain his claim without wasting resources. Each mark is placed at the optimal height and angle to catch the wind patterns that will carry his scent to the intended recipients. Pride stability has become his greatest achievement. 3 adult females form the core of his group, along with their cubs from various breeding seasons. The social dynamics within this family unit reflect his leadership style: firm but not tyrannical, protective but not possessive. He has learned that a heavy-handed approach drives lionesses away, while too much permissiveness invites chaos. The balance he maintains keeps his pride cohesive and productive, the cubs healthy and growing, the females loyal and reproductively active. The cubs approach him with the easy confidence of young animals who have never known insecurity. They tumble over his massive paws, chew on his tail, and use his recumbent form as a jungle gym. His tolerance for their antics demonstrates the security of his position. Only a truly dominant male can afford to appear undignified, can allow small cubs to climb on his carefully maintained mane without immediate correction. This playfulness serves a crucial function, bonding him to offspring that carry his genes and ensuring their protection as they mature. Hunting strategy has evolved under his leadership. While he rarely participates directly in the chase, his presence provides crucial support for the pride's hunting success. His roar can stampede prey toward waiting lionesses, while his scent marks create psychological barriers that channel animal movements into predictable patterns. When a kill is made, his arrival signals the beginning of the feeding hierarchy, his dominance ensuring that he gets first choice of the best cuts while maintaining enough order to prevent the chaos that can destroy a pride. The waterhole at the center of his territory serves as both resource and strategic asset. He has positioned himself to control access to the most reliable water source in the region, a natural monopoly that attracts prey and provides leverage over neighboring territories. His presence here during the hottest part of the day is not just about drinking but about displaying ownership of this crucial resource. Other animals approach with caution, reading his body language for signs of tolerance or aggression. Afternoon brings the leisure that is the privilege of apex predators. He rests in the shade of a massive baobab tree, its ancient trunk providing both shelter and a commanding view of his domain. His breathing is deep and regular, but his ears remain alert, constantly monitoring the acoustic landscape for signs of disturbance. Even in rest, he maintains the vigilance that successful territorial defense requires. The approach of evening triggers a subtle shift in his demeanor. This is when most challenges occur, when young males drunk on their own developing power test the boundaries of established territories. His muscles tense slightly, his golden eyes scanning the horizon for movement. The scent of the pride's evening hunt drifts on the wind, mixing with the complex aromatic signature of his territory's many inhabitants. His reign has lasted 3 years now, a significant achievement in the brutal mathematics of lion society. The average territorial tenure is just over 2 years, cut short by injury, old age, or the inevitable arrival of younger, stronger challengers. His longevity speaks to his intelligence as much as his strength, his ability to choose battles carefully and manage resources wisely. Every day of continued dominance is a victory against the natural order that eventually claims all kings. The setting sun paints his mane in shades of gold and amber, creating a crown worthy of the sovereign he has become. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new threats to his position, new tests of his leadership. But tonight, as the first stars appear in the darkening sky, he remains the undisputed ruler of his African kingdom, the apex predator whose very presence shapes the behavior of every creature within his domain. Fading strength edge of the domain. The morning sun rises slowly over the acacia-dotted landscape, casting long shadows across the golden grass where our lion now moves with measured steps. Gone are the days of explosive power and lightning-quick reflexes. His massive frame, once a testament to raw strength, now carries the weight of many seasons. Each movement speaks of careful consideration, joints that protest with the stiffness that comes to all creatures who have lived long and lived hard. His mane, still magnificent but touched with silver at the edges, catches the early light as he pauses to survey his domain, but the territory he once commanded with absolute authority has begun to shrink. The boundaries that were once marked with confident roars and territorial displays have become fluid, uncertain. Younger males, their muscles tight with youthful vigor, their eyes bright with ambition, have begun to test the edges of his realm. He remembers when he was one of those young challengers, when his blood ran hot with the need to claim what was his by right of strength. Now he watches from the shadows as they repeat the ancient dance, their roars echoing across the savannah in the pre-dawn darkness. His own roar, once capable of carrying for miles and striking fear into the hearts of rivals, has grown more selective. Why waste energy on displays that might invite challenges he's no longer certain he can win? The hunting, too, has changed. Where once he could rely on explosive bursts of speed to bring down prey, now he must think differently. Strategy replaces strength. Patience becomes his greatest weapon. He watches the herds with eyes that have learned to read the subtlest signs, the slight limp of an aging zebra, the way a young gazelle favors one leg, the moment when an antelope's attention wavers just long enough. But even with all his accumulated wisdom, the successful hunts grow fewer. His timing, once perfect, sometimes falters by crucial seconds. His leap falls just short of its mark. His grip, weakened by worn teeth and aging jaw muscles, cannot hold what it once could crush with ease. The harsh mathematics of the wild begin to work against him. This is when the ancient knowledge passed down through generations of his kind becomes most precious. He knows where the hidden water pans lie, those secret reservoirs that remain when the obvious watering holes run dry. His memory holds the locations of caves where the wind creates cooling drafts during the hottest part of the day. He understands which trees drop fruit that can supplement a diet when fresh meat becomes scarce. Scavenging, once beneath his dignity as a proud hunter, becomes a necessary skill. He learns the art of strategic retreat, knowing when to abandon a kill to younger, stronger lions rather than risk injury in a fight he cannot win. His pride, once centered on his prowess as a provider, gradually shifts to embrace the wisdom of survival itself. The younger lions in his territory no longer automatically defer to his presence. They test boundaries, challenge his authority in small ways at first, then with growing boldness. A choice emerges: fight with failing strength against the inevitable, or begin the slow withdrawal that age demands of all creatures. He chooses wisdom over pride, survival over glory. His territory begins to contract, not all at once, but gradually, like a slowly setting sun. He abandons the prime hunting grounds first, those areas where competition is fiercest and the energy required to maintain dominance too great. He retreats to the margins, to the borderlands, where the pressure is less intense but the living is harder. Here, in these transitional spaces between territories, he learns new ways to survive. He times his movements to avoid the peak activity periods of younger lions. He develops an almost supernatural ability to sense approaching danger, his years of experience translating subtle environmental cues into actionable intelligence. A shift in the wind brings information about competitors miles away. The behavior of birds overhead tells him whether other predators are active in the area. His diet adapts to his circumstances. Carrion becomes less shameful and more practical. He learns to locate the kills of other predators and time his approach to maximize his chances of feeding while minimizing confrontation. His once mighty roar becomes a tool of misdirection, used to create the impression of strength when actual strength begins to fail. The psychological adaptation proves as challenging as the physical one. A lifetime of being the apex predator in his domain must be reconciled with a new reality where he is no longer the dominant force. Pride, that fierce emotion that once drove him to great victories, must be tempered with pragmatism. The lion who once never backed down from a challenge must learn when backing down represents wisdom rather than weakness. Yet there is a strange peace in this transition, the constant pressure to maintain dominance, to defend territory, to prove worthiness through strength. All of this begins to ease. For the first time in years, he can rest without the hypervigilance that constant threat demands. His sleep, once light and frequently interrupted by the need to respond to challenges, deepens. He begins to notice aspects of his environment that were previously overlooked in the intensity of competitive survival. The play of light through the leaves becomes something to observe rather than simply an indicator of time and hunting conditions. The sounds of the savannah at different hours reveal layers of complexity he never had time to appreciate. The social dynamics of other species, previously relevant only as they related to hunting opportunities, become interesting in their own right. As his physical domain shrinks, his awareness of the interconnected web of life around him expands. He begins to understand his role not just as a predator, but as part of a larger system where every creature, from the mightiest elephant to the smallest dung beetle, plays a necessary part in the great cycle of the savannah. This understanding brings its own form of strength, different from the raw power of youth, but no less real. It is the strength of acceptance, of wisdom earned through experience, of a deep comprehension of his place in the eternal dance of life and death that governs all existence in this ancient land. Word count: 1, 47 words. Let me expand this section to meet the target word count of 250 words. The seasons pass, and with each one, the adjustments become more pronounced. His morning routine, once a quick assessment followed by immediate action, now involves longer periods of careful stretching, working the stiffness from joints that have carried him through countless adventures. He has learned to read his own body with the same precision he once applied to reading prey animals, understanding exactly how much exertion he can manage before rest becomes essential. The water sources he frequents tell the story of his changing status. No longer does he drink at the primary watering holes where the entire hierarchy of the savanna comes to acknowledge his presence. Instead, he seeks out the smaller pools, the seasonal streams, the rocky catchments that collect rainwater away from the main thoroughfares of animal traffic. Here he can drink in peace, without the constant need to assert dominance or defend his right to the life-giving resource. His relationship with the landscape itself begins to shift. Territories he once viewed purely in terms of strategic advantage, the best ambush points, the clearest sightlines, the most defensible positions, now reveal other qualities. He discovers places of remarkable beauty that he had passed countless times without truly seeing. A particular arrangement of rocks that creates perfect shade during the harsh midday heat. A grove of trees where the wind moves through the branches in patterns that seem almost musical. These discoveries don't diminish his survival instincts, but they add layers of appreciation that were impossible when every moment was focused on maintaining his position through strength. He begins to understand that dominance and awareness are different qualities, and that losing the first doesn't necessarily mean sacrificing the second. The young lions who now patrol the boundaries of what was once his exclusive domain occasionally encounter him during their rounds. The interactions that result from these meetings reveal the complex nature of his transition. Sometimes they show him a grudging respect, acknowledging the reputation that precedes him even in his diminished state. Other times they display the casual dismissiveness of youth, convinced of its own invincibility. He handles these encounters with increasing sophistication, reading each situation with the skill of a master diplomat, when to show just enough of his remaining strength to earn safe passage, when to submit gracefully to avoid unnecessary conflict, when to use the psychological weight of his reputation to influence outcomes without physical confrontation. Through it all, the great wheel of the seasons continues to turn, indifferent to individual struggles but providing the eternal context within which all these small dramas play out. He finds comfort in this continuity, in the knowledge that his story, however unique it feels to him, is part of patterns that have repeated for millennia across this ancient landscape. The acacia thicket beckons with the wisdom of instinct older than memory itself. Our lion, his great frame now moving with the deliberate pace of one who has measured his remaining steps, turns away from the territories that once knew his dominance. There is no fanfare in this departure, no ceremony to mark the end of an era, simply the quiet recognition that the time has come to seek the place where all journeys end. The thicket he chooses sits on a gentle rise overlooking the vast expanse of savanna that has been his world. From here, the landscape spreads out like a living map of his life's adventures. The distant watering hole, where he first learned to hunt as a young lion, following his mother's patient guidance. The rocky outcrop where he fought his first territorial battle, emerging bloodied but victorious. The scattered trees under which he has rested through countless scorching afternoons, watching the heat shimmer rise from the golden grass. Each landmark holds its story, and as he settles into the dappled shade of the thorny branches, these memories flow through his consciousness like a gentle river. Not with the sharp pain of loss, but with the soft appreciation of a life fully lived. The acacia's ancient wood creaks gently in the afternoon breeze, a sound that seems to echo the quiet settling of his own bones as he finds his final resting place. The sun begins its descent toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose that have witnessed the rise and fall of countless generations before him. He has seen this same sunset thousands of times, but tonight it carries a different quality. Tonight, he watches with the attention of one who knows he will not see another, and this knowledge transforms the ordinary miracle of dusk into something transcendent. His breathing has grown shallow, each inhalation a conscious effort rather than the automatic rhythm that has sustained him through years of prowling, hunting, fighting, and ruling. Yet there is no struggle in this transition, no desperate clinging to what is slipping away. Instead, there is a profound sense of completion, as if some great work has been finished, and he can finally rest. The first stars begin to appear in the deepening blue of the evening sky, pinpricks of light that have guided travelers across this land since time immemorial. He remembers nights spent beneath these same constellations, sometimes alone, sometimes surrounded by his pride, always part of the great community of creatures that call the savannah home. The continuity of it all, the endless cycle of birth, growth, dominance, decline, and return to the earth, brings him a peace deeper than any he has known. As the light fades, the sounds of the savannah's evening chorus begin to rise around him, the haunting call of a fish-eagle from the distant river, the rhythmic chirping of countless insects beginning their nocturnal symphony, the rustle of small creatures in the underbrush, going about their ancient business of survival. And threading through it all, carried on the cooling air, the distant roar of a younger lion claiming the night. He listens to that roar with something approaching satisfaction. Life continues, the great wheel turns. Another will fill the space he leaves behind, will face the same challenges, make the same discoveries, experience the same fierce joy of being truly alive in this demanding but magnificent world. His departure makes room for this continuation, becomes part of the endless renewal that keeps the savannah vital and strong. The memory of his own first roar comes to him now, that moment when his voice finally found its full power and he announced himself to the world as a force to be reckoned with. How his chest had swelled with pride, how the very air had seemed to vibrate with his declaration of dominance. That young lion feels both intimately familiar and impossibly distant now, as if he had been someone else entirely, living in a different lifetime. Yet the connection remains unbroken. That eager young hunter and this tired old wanderer are part of the same continuous story, links in a chain that stretches back through his father and grandfather and all the generations of lions who have walked these paths before him. Soon he will take his place among the ancestors, his strength and wisdom absorbed back into the eternal reservoir from which future generations will draw their own power. The temperature drops with the sun's departure, bringing relief from the day's heat, but also the reminder that his body no longer generates warmth with its former efficiency. He pulls himself deeper into the shelter of the thicket, where the intertwined branches create a natural bower. The thorns that would once have been merely an irritant to his thick hide now require careful navigation, but they also provide protection, a final fortress where he can complete his transition in peace. His last hunt comes back to him, not the unsuccessful stalks of recent months, but the memory of perfect execution from his prime years. The weight of the antelope as it fell, the satisfaction of providing for his pride, the respect in their eyes as they acknowledged his prowess. These memories don't torment him with what is lost, but rather celebrate what was achieved. Every successful hunt, every challenger defeated, every threat neutralized in defense of his family, all of it part of a legacy that will outlive his physical presence. The moon rises, casting silver light through the acacia leaves and creating patterns of light and shadow on the ground around him. Moonlight has been his companion through countless nights of hunting, the pale illumination that revealed prey and concealed predators in equal measure. Now it seems less like a tool for survival and more like an old friend keeping him company through this final vigil. His breathing grows even more labored, but his mind remains clear, filled with a profound sense of gratitude for the strength that carried him through years of challenges, gratitude for the pride that accepted his leadership and shared his victories, gratitude for the land itself, this ancient place that demanded everything of its inhabitants, but rewarded them with a life of purpose and meaning. The scent of approaching dawn touches the air, though the horizon remains dark. His senses, even in their diminished state, can detect the subtle shift that announces the coming day. But he knows this sunrise will belong to others. His time is measured now in heartbeats rather than hours, and each one brings him closer to the great mystery that waits beyond the edge of consciousness. A profound stillness settles over him, not the absence of life, but its distillation into pure essence. The great heart that has pumped blood through his massive frame for so many years begins to slow, its rhythm becoming irregular, then stopping altogether. The final breath releases from his lungs like a gentle sigh, carrying with it the last of his earthly concerns. In the silence that follows, the savanna seems to pause, as if acknowledging the passage of one of its own. Then, gradually, the normal sounds of the night resume. Life continues its eternal dance, neither hurried nor delayed by the departure of any single participant. The carrion beetles are the first to arrive, their ancient role in the great cycle beginning almost immediately. They come not as destroyers, but as recyclers, breaking down what was once a magnificent predator and returning its substance to the soil from which new life will spring. The nutrients that built his powerful muscles will nourish the grass that feeds the herds. The calcium of his bones will strengthen future generations. Even in death, he continues to participate in the endless exchange of energy that drives all existence on the savanna. Days pass, and his remains become part of the landscape he once ruled. The acacia thicket grows more lush, fed by what he has given back to the earth. Small creatures make their homes in spaces his body created. Plants sprout in soil, enriched by his contribution to the endless cycle of growth and decay. The distant sound of lions roars across the landscape as it always has, the voices now belonging to others but carrying the same ancient message of strength, territory, and life's irrepressible will to continue. Somewhere among those voices might be his own descendants, lions who carry his genes forward into the future, ensuring that some part of him remains forever woven into the great tapestry of savanna life. The stars wheel overhead in their eternal patterns, indifferent to individual stories but somehow encompassing them all. In their light, the grasslands stretch endlessly toward horizons that promise new adventures for those with the courage to seek them. The great wheel turns, as it always has, as it always will, grinding grain for the bread of future generations while composing the lullaby that sends old souls gently into their final sleep. And in the soft ambience of cricket songs and the whisper of wind through grass, in the distant calls of night hunters and the rustle of small lives pursuing their destinies, the savanna continues its ancient work of nurturing the endless dream of life itself. Rest now, great lion. Your watch is ended, your duty fulfilled. Let the soft sounds of the eternal African night carry you into whatever dreams await beyond the edge of forever.